I'd like to see how a bunch of trash can stop me. Thank you, readers. Han Fei charged in the direction of Xia Xiaochan's reincarnation body. Xia Xiaochan must have thought that the strong master from the Grand Development sect was the weakest of these people besieging her, so she charged into the illusion domain without hesitation. However, it was precisely because she had entered the realm of illusions that many people just surrounded the illusion. And the strong master of the Grand Development sect certainly wouldn't let these people enter his realm of illusions to kill Xia Xiaochan. He still hoped to kill Xia Xiaochan alone and have the opportunity to marry Yi Qingchan and dual cultivate with her. Even if he might not be the final winner, once there was a half chance, he could still get enough compensation from the miracle forest. Therefore, the illusion domain was full of killing intent. Han Fei, on the other hand, was besieged by many experts. Most of the people here didn't know Han Fei very well. They only knew that Wang Han was the fiancé of Feng Yu, a bandit from the West Wilderness. He was very strong, but they didn't think they were weaker than him. Therefore, in an instant, a myriad of techniques bombarded Han Fei. However, the encirclement of this battlefield was only so large. Even if the techniques could lock onto Han Fei could start killing before these techniques arrived. Swish! Han Fei stepped into the void world. At the same time, at least 30 people entered the void world. In the void world, Han Fei could unleash a terrifying speed that exceeded 100 times the speed of light. Therefore, the moment the more than 30 people entered the void world, they realized how stupid they were. Swish! As soon as someone entered the void world, he saw a blood-colored broadsword beam flash past. The speed was so fast that he had no time to react. He could only summon his soul-suppressing spiritual treasure. Puff! With one slash, his soul was destroyed, and his essence blood was instantly sucked up by the blood sky blade. If some strong masters of the ancient demon race were here, Wang Han's identity might have been exposed because he had used the draw technique. However, since he could cover it up, he naturally had to. After all, the identity of a bandit from the West Wilderness that Feng Yu had given him was very good. After using the Ragnarok, Han Fei's figure moved through the void world. Since the first person was killed, the others had already known how terrifying Han Fei was. They all put on various godly weapons, artifacts, and even spiritual treasure-level battle suits. However, when Han Fei found the second person, although the person had fused with his companion spirit and activated a divine technique, after a single slash, the person was shattered along with his divine technique. Han Fei didn't feel that he had done much yet, because the blood sky blade had almost doubled his combat power. The blood sky blade was blood red after drinking blood. Accompanied by Han Fei's killing intent, the blood sky blade was abnormally agitated and trembled from time to time. This was because the blood sky blade hadn't drunk blood for too long and was too excited. He didn't expect that, after following this person, he could start drinking blood so quickly. With every step Han Fei took, he slashed out without any hesitation, and one person would die. In less than a breath, 8 people were killed in a row, and their essence blood was sucked dry. Seeing this, the others hurriedly rushed out of the void world. Even so, 2 of them couldn't escape in time, so they were killed. One of them was killed in the void world. As for the other one, half of his body had already left the void world, but he was still killed by Han Fei, and his flesh was sucked dry. In the outside world, it was not that no one could enter the void world, but Some people, such as Zhao Longma, clearly realized Han Fei's behavior of switching weapons. At this moment, the 9-foot-long ring broadsword that Wang Han was most proud of, which had even become his symbolic weapon, was put away. Instead, he used a blood-colored blade of unknown origin. Clearly, it was not simple. Either this blood-colored blade was Han Fei's trump card, or the quality of this blood-colored blade was extremely high. Therefore, when these people discovered that only more than 20 of the more than 30 people entered the void world came out, there was also someone who was killed when half of his body stuck out. From this, it could be seen that more than 10 people had died. At that moment, the pupils of Zhao Longma and the others were constricted slightly. In just 1 second, Wang Han had killed 10 heavenly talents of the same level as him. If it were them, they might have been able to do it, but it definitely wouldn't be easy. However, not everyone realized this. As soon as Han Fei appeared, he found that many strong masters had already entered the arena. He slashed back. The nearest axe cultivator, who seemed to walk the balanced Dao, was instantly killed with his axe. He didn't even have the time to counterattack. He. Who in the same realm can take one attack from me? How is that possible? Thank you, readers. Some people were shocked. That slash was too fast and powerful, so powerful that his Dao bone had no ability to resist at all. The heavenly Dao jade marrow bone that hadn't completely condensed was cut apart like tofu. The knife. There's something wrong with his knife. Finally, a knife cultivator said in shock, it's at least a mid-quality nature spiritual treasure, or even a high-quality one. Boom. Many people were in an uproar. A mid-quality nature spiritual treasure was already very precious. For most heavenly talents, even the heavenly talents of some major forces in the Central Sea divine realm, it was difficult for them to have a mid-quality nature spiritual treasure. Even if their forces had one, they wouldn't give it to them casually. For example, the weapon used by the patriarch of the primordial silver wolf race was only a mid-quality nature spiritual treasure. From this, it could be seen how rare high-quality nature spiritual treasures were. As for ultra-quality, it hadn't appeared yet. Han Fei even suspected that there was no such thing as an ultra-quality nature spiritual treasure. Someone shouted, everyone, be careful. Let's overlay the power of our great Daos and crush him. Otherwise, with the sharpness of an intermediate or high quality nature spiritual treasure, it can even cut open the heavenly Dao jade marrow. Although many of them were monarchs, they were monarchs outside, but here they were only in the perfected star transformation realm. Many people thought that with the heavenly Dao jade marrow bone, they couldn't be killed. But at this moment, they were all horrified. Han Fei sneered and resisted the urge to restore his original body. At this moment, he really wanted to use the Thousand Thunder Flash. In such a group battle, the Thousand Thunder Flash was invincible. He could kill until these people collapsed. However, if he returned to his original body, he may enjoy killing for a moment, but when the Central Sea Divine Continent saw him alone, a large number of strong masters would definitely come to hunt him down. At that time, he would really cause trouble for the Phoenix Divine race. In order to hide her identity, Fengyu had been hiding for so long. He couldn't bear to expose her. Therefore, Han Fei could only slash out repeatedly. Even though he was being attacked by many techniques, Han Fei's figure was still rampaging through the tens of thousands of great Daos. In just 3 seconds, another 13. People were killed by a single slash and had no chance to resist. At that moment, Han Fei successfully entered the illusion domain. As soon as Han Fei entered the illusion domain, the heavenly talent of the Grand Development sect took out another Tao pattern talisman, and tens of thousands of lightning bolts blasted into this place. Han Fei almost laughed when he saw the lightning. Sure enough, the strong master from the Grand Development sect saw that not only was Han Fei unaffected by the world destruction lightning, but a milky white halo suddenly burst out from the surface of his body. Mysterious incantations appeared, and the illusion here was shattered layer by layer. The world-cleansing divine spell could cleanse evil spirits and destroy delusion and demons. This spell could purify the mind, dispel illusions, cleanse the soul, and alleviate negativity. The rain demon Yudonglu shook his head and shouted, "If we want to kill these two people, we might as well use the power of the great Tao to cover the illusion domain to break the illusion and kill the powerful enemy." The expert from the Grand Development sect turned green. He couldn't resist the attack of so many great Taos. As soon as the illusion domain was broken, Xia Shechan's reincarnation body turned into a shadow, trying to break through the defense and escape. Obviously, she didn't leave the illusion domain just now, but tried to repair the injuries. But to her surprise, the expert from the Grand Development sect summoned so much power of lightning. Xia Shechan's reincarnation body, who had been seriously injured, had to abandon healing and continue to find a way to break through. However, as soon as the illusion domain was activated, this place had already been surrounded. All kinds of divine techniques, soul-killing techniques, sword cultivators, broadsword beams, and arrow streams emerged endlessly. Besides, with so many great Taos pressing down, Xia Shechan's reincarnation body turned around and tried to enter the void world, only to find that this space was completely sealed and she couldn't enter the void world at all. At this moment, Xia Shechan's reincarnation body was like a small boat in a raging wave, but a huge wave thousands of meters high was coming at her opposite side, making her unable to fight back at all. She was best at assassination. In terms of assassination skills, she was confident that she could kill anyone here. But in a head-on battle, facing such an attack, she was even at a loss. Under her black clothes and mask, Yi Chani felt regretful. Was it impossible for her to escape this time? Bang! But the moment the huge wave was about to hit her, suddenly, a figure stood in front of her. Bang! 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 Boom boom boom. All kinds of great techniques and divine arts bombarded Han Fei. However, he didn't dodge at all. Some of his power was swallowed by his body, and some was blocked and dispersed from his side. Thousands of techniques failed to shake Han Fei at all. Yi Chani looked at the man in front of her in a daze. He was the one who stopped her from assassinating Yi Qingchan twice, but he was also the one who stopped others from killing her twice. Was there something wrong with this man? More importantly, this person was ridiculously strong. Under such a bombardment, he actually withstood it without being shaken at all. Impossible? How can he possibly withstand the bombardment of so many of us? Even the heavenly Tao Jade Marrow Bone in its complete state can't block this blow. Why can he? Could it be that he avoided the attention of the heavenly Tao here and used the strength of the carefree level? Even if he is at the carefree level, he is not invincible. Even if an attack is insignificant to him, how can he deal with tens of thousands of attacks? Yi Qingchan's face changed slightly. She couldn't understand it either. Although Wang Han was very strong, how could he have resisted so many attacks? Alone? Thank you, readers. Zhao Longma, Chen Fengchao, Yu Donglu, and the others all launched their strongest attacks. Wang Han's condition was obviously not right. The overwhelming attacks were still going on, and Han Fei said casually, "Use the haunting shadow and attach to me." Yi Chani was briefly stunned. How did he know that she had the haunting shadow art? However, she still attached herself to Han Fei immediately. Han Fei smiled casually. "I forgot to tell you that I have a carefree level body. There's only one way for you to kill me. You might be able to hurt me with a low quality nature spiritual treasure, penetrate me with a mid-quality nature spiritual treasure, and kill me with a high-quality nature spiritual treasure. Which of you wants to give it a try? A carefree level body? How can there be such a person? Extreme Tao. If he is an extreme Tao body refiner, he might be able to have a carefree level body. A carefree level extreme Tao body refiner? For a moment, many people were stunned. A carefree level extreme Tao body refiner? What did that mean? This meant that this person had reached the peak of body refinement in every realm before. And the peak of body refinement was the same as the peak of soul refinement. Even with this ability and talent, he still had to consume countless resources and take several times or even dozens of times more time than most balanced Tao experts to reach the peak of body refinement in every realm. But now, this person said that his body was carefree level. When these people heard this, their minds kept ringing. If this was true, then he would definitely be the first place on the God roll. Furthermore, such an existence was basically invincible in a place like the God-fearing ancient land. Sure enough, many people stopped when they heard this. Although they didn't want to admit it, it was the truth. This person had indeed withstood everyone's attack. If it weren't for his carefree level body, how could he have resisted it? Zhao Longma suddenly said, "Everyone, it's not impossible to kill someone with a carefree level body. His body can be carefree level, but the power he exerts needs to reach the carefree level too. No matter how much power he blocks, he needs to consume energy. It's impossible for him to block so many blows without using any power. Besides, his body can't exist without his spiritual will. His mind will eventually be exhausted. He can't last long in the face of such attacks." Someone echoed, "That's right. Let's keep attacking him. Even if his body is carefree level, his spiritual power will eventually be exhausted." Han Fei sneered. Sure enough, these people still didn't give up. If it were someone else, they might have died here. This was because what Zhao Longma said was right. If it were someone else, this method might have worked. For example, when Han Fei was killing the ominous creatures in the thunder Note ancient temple, he fought until his power was exhausted. However, at this moment, the blood sky blade glowed with blood light. At this moment, Han Fei was surrounded and outnumbered. The three abilities of the blood sky blade were completely unleashed. The double killing intent enhanced by the blood fighting intent, the 80% knife intent enhanced by the blood drinking effect, and the 3 times combat power enhanced by the bloody battle. In addition to the physique and speed that Han Fei had shown, he was still casual, despite the bombardment of tens of thousands of techniques. This crazy slaughter lasted until Han Fei killed more than 300 people in a row. Some people gave up. They had been attacking non-stop, and Han Fei was also attacking non-stop when resisting their attacks. Furthermore, Han Fei's pace was very irregular, killing enemies randomly and killing anyone he encountered. Finally, someone said, in the sky-opening realm, this person is invincible. His spiritual will doesn't show any signs of exhaustion. Without the excitement of wanting to kill Han Fei, many people came back to their senses. After all, no one would die in the joust. But now, they were really gambling with their lives. Some people even realized that even if they successfully killed Wang Han and the Southern Dip assassin, what could they do? However, the conclusion they came up with shocked him. That was, he would be killed on the spot after Wang Han. For others, even if you killed Wang Han and the Southern Dip assassin and obtained the opportunity to dual cultivate with Yi Qingchuan, as long as they killed you here, everything would return to its original state. As for Han Fei, he had already figured this out, so he exclaimed that this was a good scheme. At this moment, someone stopped and began to retreat to the back of the crowd. Some people realized that the others were retreating, so they also stopped. Since Zhao Longma and the others made it sound so easy, they might as well wait for them to take the lead to find the enemy. When one person retreated, 10 people retreated. When 10 people retreated, 100 retreated. Similarly, the mood of avoiding battle spread almost instantaneously throughout the entire battlefield. Although they were all heavenly talents of the major forces, after experiencing a battle of this level, they still admitted that they weren't the strongest. There were always some people in this world who were ridiculously strong. When everyone retreated and looked back, Yi Qingchuan was nowhere to be seen. Not to mention Yi Qingchuan, even people like Zhao Longma had disappeared. Damn it, they retreated faster than us. We're being used as pawns. Even Holy Lady Qingchuan ran away. It's obvious that she knew that Wang Han was terrifying. Thank you, readers. Everyone, I'll be on my way. Wait for me. Some people began to evacuate, or rather, take the initiative to leave this place. They couldn't kill Wang Han at all. At this moment, there was only a trembling void and the power of the great Daos left. Han Fei stepped through the void step by step, and the blood sky blade in his hand was blood-red and trembling. Han Fei put away the blood sky blade and said casually, "Okay, everybody is gone. I think we should have a good talk now." A shadow broke away from Han Fei. Yi Chani frowned and looked at the man in front of her warily. Just like everyone else, she couldn't believe that there was such a freakishly strong expert in this world. At least in this God-fearing ancient land, this guy was almost invincible. "Who are you? Since you stopped me, why did you save me?" Cough, cough. Yi Chani's black mask was covered with blood. After all, she was seriously injured after taking so many people's attacks. Han Fei slightly frowned. He waved his hand, and divine light descended, bathing Yi Chani in it. The latter couldn't help but widen her eyes and look at Han Fei. How many Daos had this person taken? Not only had his body reached the carefree level, but how could he also be good at this kind of healing technique? Killing and healing seemed contradictory. Han Fei took out his black jade pendant and said, "You should know this?" Yi Chani's eyes widened. The black fish jade pendant. "Who are you? Where did you get this?" Han Fei smiled. "If you want to know, come with me. After all, this is a place of fighting. Many people seem to have left, but in fact, they will peep at this place from time to time." This time, Yi Chani didn't refuse, because for the first time in her life, she felt that she had a clear direction. Half a day later, in a treasure land that had long been hollowed on the map, the two of them sat in a deep mountain valley. Hanfei didn't speak, but prepared a big pot and 2 rows of barbecue grills. Do you remember? Yichani was confused. Remember what? Hot pot and barbecue. Yichani frowned. I've never eaten such food before. Cultivators don't need to eat. Yichani asked, why don't you tell me now? Hanfei said, don't worry. I'm here. I'll tell you sooner or later. Yichani simply sat cross-legged to recover. It was an accident that the divinity of the goddess of night rushed into her body, but now it seemed to have really become her opportunity. A moment later, Yichani smelled an alluring fragrance, which seemed to have rekindled her need for food. Yichani opened her eyes, only to see the flesh and blood of a dragon serpent cooking in the pot. It was lustrous and glowed with the light of law. If she wasn't mistaken, it was the flesh and blood of a pure-blooded dragon serpent of the ancient demon race, and it was at least at the peak of the Tao proving level. However, although the fragrance of the meat was really tempting, Yichani didn't intend to eat it because she still needed to hide herself and didn't want Hanfei to see her true appearance. Hanfei chuckled. Why not have a try? It's delicious. Yichani asked, can you tell me now? Who are you exactly? Why do you have the blackfish jade pendant? Crunch, crunch. While chewing the flesh and blood of the dragon serpent, Hanfei said with a smile, do you feel that a part of your soul is missing? Yichani suddenly looked at Hanfei, her eyes glowing. How do you know? Hanfei smiled again. Do you have a teardrop-shaped birthmark? Buzz. Yichani suddenly rose and stared at Hanfei. Who are you exactly? Hanfei waved at her with a smile. Sit down. Let's talk slowly. Are you going to just listen like this? This is a rather complicated matter. Before that, I need to do a test. Yichani sat down again and asked in confusion, verify what? This time, Hanfei took out the vast ocean navigator without hesitation and recited in his heart. Then, the needle of the vast ocean navigator pointed at Yichani, and he grinned. Phew. As I expected. Yichani didn't know why the navigator was pointing at her. Hanfei put away the vast ocean navigator and then looked at her. What's your name? Yichani didn't answer, as if she didn't intend to reveal anything. Hanfei said, don't you want to find the missing part of your soul? If you do, tell me. Yichani. This time, Yichani answered without hesitation. Chani? There's still a shadow of a cicada. Hanfei sighed and then said with a smile, let me tell you a story, okay? My story may be a bit long. Are you sure you don't want to eat anything? Yichani shook her head. Hanfei asked, you don't want me to see your real face, so you don't eat it? Because of the weird mask on your face, you don't think I can see through you. Right? Yichani didn't speak, but Hanfei raised his hand and gently hooked his finger. The black mask on Yichani's face suddenly disappeared, turned into a drop of water, and gathered at Hanfei's fingertip. Hanfei looked straight at her. Under the mask, there was a beautiful and cute face, which was 70% similar to the old Xia Xiaochan. She had white teeth, red lips, and clear eyes, but her cheeks were not as thin as before. Thank you, readers. Yichani's expression changed drastically. She hurriedly tried to recall the drop of water, but it was not very obedient. It hesitantly circled around Han Fei several times before returning to Yichani's palm. But this time, Yichani didn't turn it into a mask. Instead, she was a little angry. Why can you control my things? Han Fei deliberately kept Yichani in suspense. Eat. If you eat with me, I'll tell you everything, including the details why I can control your things. Yichani gritted her teeth, but she also felt that this person was too unruly. Just a moment ago, he was still slaughtering with overwhelming killing intent, but now, his killing intent was gone, and he was beaming with joy. More importantly, she found that she couldn't be angry with him at all. Having no choice, Yichani finally moved her chopsticks. When she picked up a piece of dragon meat and bit it, she suddenly felt refreshed. A rich fragrance filled her mouth. But what shocked her most was that for some reason, she felt that she seemed to be familiar with this smell. However, she clearly knew that she had never eaten such a thing in her life. How could she feel a sense of familiarity? Han Fei leaned his head close and asked, "How is it? Is it delicious?" Yichani curled her lips slightly and said coldly, "Not bad." Ha ha ha. Han Fei laughed, which annoyed Yichani. "Are you going to tell me or not?" "Yes, yes." Okay, the story begins like this. Once upon a time, there was a school called the Thug Academy. Yichani interrupted, "I'm not here to listen to your story." Han Fei smiled. "Anyway, you have nothing to do now. There's still a long time before the God-fearing ancient land opens. After listening to this story, you might find the missing part of your soul. Okay. Cough, cough. Then I'll start. There used to be a school called the Thug Academy. There were 4 students in this school, and one day, the 5th student came. His name was Han Fei." Yichani's face changed slightly. "Han Fei, the human emperor?" Han Fei said, "Don't interrupt me. Don't mind this detail. Listen to the story first." Han Fei talked very slowly, very carefully, and very long-windedly. From the fishery, to the arena, to the interesting things between the 5 of them, to the cave exploration in the back mountain of the school, to the level 3 fishery. Upon hearing this, Yichani couldn't help but look at the metamorphosis water in her hand. She had guessed that the Xia Xiaochan in this story was her. Hearing this, Yichani finally said, "Xia Xiaochan is my reincarnation body? So, are you saying that you are the human emperor?" Han Fei said, "The story is still long. After I finish, if you still have any questions, then you can ask." Han Fei continued to talk about the level 3 fishery and the places unknown. Hearing the part that he was killed by Chen Huangdian and the mermaid's tear appeared, Yichani subconsciously lowered her head and mumbled, "Mermaid's tear?" Then it was about the Scattered Stars Island, the Thug Academy's counterattack, and the destruction of the big clans in the Thousand-Star City. Of course, Xia Xiaochan didn't participate in this part, but the story was still very exciting. When Han Fei talked about the raging sea, where the two met again and were hunted by the soul-sealing world, Han Fei said, "Xia Xiaochan was pregnant, but the strength of a sea establisher was limited after all. The raging sea can't support the birth of a divine child. Countless precious medicines still couldn't stop Xia Xiaochan's vitality from withering." Han Fei looked at Xia Xiaochan. So, Han Fei asked his senior brother to help his wife reincarnate. In order to make it easier to find her, he refined a pair of yin-yang dual pendants. Of course, there's also a birthmark. Next? I know what happened next. Yi Chani's eyes were full of tears, but there was no emotion on her face. Han Fei frowned slightly. Yes, the Southern Dip Assassin Organization should have a good grasp of intelligence. With your level in the organization, it must be easy for you to know what happened next. Yi Chani closed her eyes slightly. So this memory is what I've been looking for. Yi Chani closed her eyes for a long time and then slowly opened them. But I've been reincarnated after all. I'm Yi Chani now, not Xia Xiaochan. It seems that you haven't awakened this part of your memory. Thank you, readers. Han Fei told her this part of the memory. His purpose was not to talk about the memories themselves, but to awaken Yi Chani's missing memories. Only when her memories were restored could she relate to them. At this moment, Yi Chani had only listened to the story, but her memories hadn't been awakened. She only had a sense of identification with Xia Xiaochan. At the level of the story, she might be touched, but she didn't have a sense of belonging. Han Fei felt a headache coming on, and Yi Chani said frankly, I'm very touched, but I'm still me. I'm Yi Chani. No, you are Yi Chani, but you are also Xia Xiaochan. Han Fei said casually, you will eventually become one with Xia Xiaochan. Otherwise, even if you know this memory, so what? Yi Chani asked, do reincarnation bodies have to return to their original bodies? I still have my own path to take. I have very important things to do. Han Fei couldn't help but ask angrily, where is the child? Why is the child in Xia Xiaochan's stomach not your child? You should know that your soul is not complete. You just heard a story, but the story is limited. You can't accurately feel the many feelings of the person involved. Yi Chani was not annoyed. Thank you for saving me, and thank you for telling me this story. But I don't feel a sense of belonging to it. I repeat, I am Yi Chani, not Xia Xiaochan. I can't give birth to your child. Han Fei gnashed his teeth in anger, but seeing Yi Qingchan so righteous and determined, he heaved a sigh in the end. No wonder eldest senior brother said that it would be difficult for him to find Xia Xiaochan back. Wasn't this more than just difficult? Unless she awakened on her own, it was impossible to make it work just by telling stories. She is my wife. I can't be angry. I can't be angry. Han Fei took a few deep breaths and suddenly changed the topic. Fine, even if you're Yi Chani, I did save you, didn't I? Yi Chani said, if it weren't for you, I might have succeeded in the assassination and escaped. Han Fei sneered. Do you think Yi Qingchan is so easy to assassinate? Besides, I told you a story. Won't you give me anything in return? Yi Chani asked, what do you want? Han Fei asked, tell me your story. For example, what's your relationship with Yi Qingchan? Why do you want to kill each other? How did you join the Southern Dipper? And why did Yi Qingchan want to find a spouse through a joust? These aren't big secrets, right? Yi Chani asked, can I go after I'm done telling you these? Of course. Yi Chani was relieved. Let's start with the first question. Many people in the Miracle Forest know what my relationship with Yi Qingchan is. There is a miracle tree in the Miracle Forest that blooms every 129,600 years, bears fruit every 129,600 years, and ripens every 129,600 years. Every time, there are two fruits. The spiritual fruits absorb the essence of the world until they ripen, and then Yi Qingchan and I were born. Are you two fruits? Han Fei couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. In other words, you have cultivated for 388,800 years before transforming into human form? Yi Chani said, it's not cultivation, but natural absorption of the essence of the world. We can't cultivate before we're born. Yi Chani said, I seemed to have some intelligence back then, but I don't remember. Eldest senior brother must have replaced that fruit that had been growing for almost 400,000 years with Xia Xiaochan. No wonder Yi Chani and Yi Qingchan cultivated so fast. Han Fei asked, were you very strong when you just transformed into human form? Yi Chani said, no. We transformed into human form after transcending the heavenly tribulation, and at that time, we were only in the sea establishment realm. After we took human form, we began to cultivate with different masters. 100 years later, we went through the coming-of-age ceremony, received the baptism of the mother tree, the miracle tree, and opened the sky together. That was the day that everything changed. Yi Qingchan and I both saw a divine path. As mere sky openers, you could see a path of divinity? Han Fei was a little surprised. The miracle divine tree was obviously the same type as the primordial star tree. The primordial star tree bloomed once every 100,000 years, bore fruit once every 100,000 years, and matured every 100,000 years to bear an origin ground. However, the primordial star tree hadn't become a god yet, but the miracle divine tree had shown Yi Qingchan and Yi Chani a divine path. This ancient tree seemed to be much stronger than the primordial star tree. Han Fei asked, isn't it a good thing to see a divine path? Why do you want to kill each other? Yi Chani's eyes flickered with coldness. Because only one of us can become a god. Besides, once either of us kills the other party, we can inherit the other party's divine path. Once one of us becomes a god in the future, she can obtain dual divinity. This is the so-called miracle. Dual divinity? Han Fei raised his eyebrows. This was the first time he had heard this. Divine persona should be a manifestation of a person's divinity, right? What's the meaning of double divinity? Yi Chani said, of course to be stronger. The miracle forest can stand tall in the sea realm because of this. In the history of the miracle forest, there was once a dual divine person god who killed 7 gods in a row after he had just become a god. 1 against 7? Han Fei slightly frowned. It sounded very strong, but there were definitely strong and weak gods. Therefore, it was hard to tell how strong the dual divinity was. However, this was enough for Yi Qingchan and Yi Chani to fight each other. However, Yi Chani suddenly changed the topic. This is a battle of fate. We have no choice but to fight. We were supposed to cultivate with our respective masters and then have a fight to decide who would win and who would die. But on the day we opened the sky, Yi Qingchan's master, Patriarch Heavenly Blue, from the miracle forest, set up a trap and killed my master, hoping to end the battle before the battle of fate. My master died, but my master had another identity, a supreme-level assassin in the Southern Dipper. Therefore, I was saved by the Southern Dipper and naturally joined them. How could this kind of battle concerning divine paths be fair? Thank you, readers. Han Fei asked, so you tried to assassinate her? Yi Chani nodded. Yes, but it didn't work out. Han Fei couldn't help but say, Yi Qingchan's joust for a spouse was probably an ambush. She used it as an excuse to lure you out. She must have been fully Prepared in the miracle forest, which is her territory. Yichani shook her head. No, it's not just an ambush against me. She really wants to dual cultivate with a man. Huh? Yichani narrowed her eyes and said, because she wants to get the third divinity. The third divinity? Where did the third divinity come from? Yichani said, you should have heard the story of female praying mantises eating their mates, right? Dual cultivation can indeed make two people advance rapidly and take on the divine path together. However, the purpose of taking on the divine path together is to become stronger. Therefore, even if it's me, if I dual cultivate with someone, once I become a god, I'm afraid I won't be able to control myself and will kill my husband to obtain the third divine persona. The stronger the person I dual cultivate with, the stronger my third divine persona. Hanfei asked, what if she can't kill her husband? Yichani said, then it will become like her and me. The difference is that if she kills the other party, she can obtain a third divine persona. If the other party kills her, he won't get anything. Tisk, tisk. Hanfei couldn't help but click his tongue. Yiqing-chan and Yichani's path to godhood was too special, completely contrary to ethics. Hanfei couldn't help but say, since you can tell me such an important secret, why don't you announce it to the world when the joust starts? That'll be exciting. Yichani said, so what? Even if they become enemies, that's after they become gods. Who can resist the temptation of becoming gods? That's true. Yichani said, because you've told me everything I want to know, I don't mind telling you these secrets. Now, I should go. Yichani rose and was about to leave. However, Hanfei waved his hand, put away the hot pot and barbecue, and stood in front of Yichani. Yichani was angry. You promised me that you would let me go. Hanfei pretended to remember. Oh, really? Why don't I remember? In fact, things have become very simple now. If one of you must die, it can only be Yi Qing-chan. Let's go. I'll help you kill Yi Qing-chan. No need. I can kill her myself. Hanfei asked, you've tried 3 times. When did you succeed? Yichani looked straight at Hanfei. That's because of you. Otherwise, I would have succeeded twice. Hanfei sneered. I'm afraid you're thinking too much. You couldn't kill her twice. You could only heavily injure her. However, if you really heavily injure her, you won't be able to escape. She's using herself as bait, waiting for you to take the bait. You, alone and with a knife, do you want to die? Yichani said, that's my business. I'll avenge my master myself. Besides, I'm not Xiao Xiaochan now. I'm Yichani. Buzz. Suddenly, Yichani's own great Tao was suppressed. She still wanted to escape, but the great Tao here didn't listen to her. Then, she was shackled by layers of arrays. What are you doing? Let go of me. Yichani was surprised to find that her strength was being sealed bit by bit. She didn't even know when Hanfei activated the array seal. Hanfei grinned. Look, except for your amazing strength when it comes to assassination, you are still inexperienced in head-on combat. This means that you are used to assassination, but you haven't experienced many head-on combat trials. Therefore, once you leave your field of expertise, your strength won't be stronger than those useless people on the god roll. However, do you know how many head-on battlefield trials Yi Qing-chan has experienced over the years? I'm an assassin. I can kill her as long as I have one chance. Asterisk. Bullshit. Smack. Han Fei slapped Yi Chani's butt, and the latter's eyes widened. How dare you? Han Fei circled Yi Chani with a smile and stroked her waist. Yi Chani shivered when he touched her. She was a cold killer who killed people like flies, but she had never experienced anything like this. If you touch me again, I'll kill you. However, Han Fei didn't take it seriously at all. His palm moved up Yi Chani's waist. You are shameless. If you do this again, I will definitely kill you. Han Fei suddenly tightened his grip and pulled Yi Chani into his arms. Yi Chani was so frightened that she closed her eyes, trembling. Just when Yi Chani thought that she was doomed, Han Fei stopped moving his hands, but his voice rang in Yi Chani's ears, "You have quite a temper. Do you think I can't do anything to you? Look, you don't even have a decent knife. Now, how can you kill Yi Ching-chan?" Han Fei carried Yi Chani on his shoulder. As an assassin, you shouldn't let your emotions affect you. What you need is Yi Ching-chan's death, not to show people how heroic you are to assassinate her. Put me down. Han Fei, from what I know of you, you must run the moment the seal is removed. I'm not running. Put me down. Really? Really? Han Fei removed the seal. However, in an instant, hundreds of black shadows scattered. Yi Chani's escape technique was indeed top-notch. Thank you, readers. However, with a boom, 1,000 lightning strikes cut through the sky. 10 seconds later, Han Fei continued to walk on the void with Yi Chani on his shoulder and said, with a smile, "Look, I really know you well. For example, you're going to ouch. Bite me now." Han Fei felt a pain in his ribs. A certain someone's teeth were still so sharp. Now that she was stronger, her bite was also more painful. Han Fei shook his head slightly and said, "Therefore, the reincarnation body has inherited some of the instincts of the original body to a large extent. These things are very difficult to change." Humph. I will definitely kill you. Well, if you want to kill me, you have to have a knife, right? I don't believe you have a second nature spiritual treasure. Yi Chani said, "If you don't believe me, you can try removing the seal." Buzz. After the seal was partly removed, Yi Chani froze for a moment and took out a dagger. Knowing that Han Fei was very strong, she stabbed him in the back. She knew that Han Fei's body was extremely sturdy, but she didn't expect that she couldn't even break his defense at such a close distance. Han Fei shook his head slightly. Phew, I didn't expect you to have a chaotic spiritual treasure level dagger. However, a chaotic spiritual treasure is still much weaker than a nature spiritual treasure. Feeling helpless, Yi Chani threatened again, "Believe it or not, I'll spread the news that you're the human emperor." Han Fei smiled disdainfully. So what if these people in the God-ferrying ancient land know my identity? They can't do anything except be afraid of me and hide from me. Besides, if you really expose my identity, I'll kill anyone. From the Southern Dipper I meet, believe me, the god in the Southern Dipper won't dare to touch me. Yi Chani. Unable to escape, Yi Chani finally gave up. What do you want? Han Fei said, I'll take you to dual cultivation. Ah. Let go of me. Slap. Slapping Yi Chani's butt again, Han Fei laughed. However, before I dual cultivate with you, I'll take you to find a knife. Maniac, I have a knife. I'll get a high-quality nature spiritual treasure for you. Braggart. Han Fei suddenly stopped and put Xia Xiaochan down. how about this? Let's make a bet. I'll help you find a high-quality nature spiritual treasure, and you'll dual cultivate with me. Don't even think about it. Seeing Yichani's face full of refusal and disbelief, Han Fei thought for a moment. Yes, he was talking about a high-quality nature spiritual treasure. No ordinary person would believe him. So he immediately said, I'll take you to do 3 things. As long as you can accomplish one of these 3 things, I'll let you go. Really? Of course. But if you can't finish it, he. Yichani thought that dual cultivation was impossible. She could only try to complete these 3 things first. If she couldn't, she could only run. Half a day passed. In a place called the Spirit Sea Stream, there were countless intertwined streams. At this moment, a strange light was spewing out, and a low-quality nature spiritual treasure appeared, causing these people to scramble for it. Yichani was a little surprised when Han Fei and Yichani arrived. Although it was not a high-quality nature spiritual treasure, it was indeed stronger than her chaotic spiritual treasure. Many people noticed Wang Han and Yichani, but they didn't take them seriously. After all, many people had come to the God-fearing ancient land, and not everyone knew Wang Han. Yichani was wondering if she should snatch the low-quality spiritual treasure, when Han Fei said, the first thing you should do is to grab this spiritual treasure. Use the spiritual treasure to draw out the high-quality spiritual treasure. If you don't show your strength, it won't show up voluntarily. If you can get a high-quality nature spiritual treasure with your own strength, you win. Hearing this, Yichani didn't hesitate and immediately rushed out. Although she didn't want to owe Han Fei a favor, as Han Fei said, without a nature spiritual treasure, it was indeed difficult for her to assassinate Yi Qingchan. Although she was a very strong assassin in the Southern Dipper, if she wanted to obtain something, she could only hunt by herself. But Yi Qingchan was different. The entire miracle forest was supporting her. If there was a chance to get a high-quality natural spiritual treasure, she certainly wouldn't give it up on the battlefield. However, just as Han Fei said, Yichani's combat performance was not as tough as when she was assassinating. Almost no one was her match in a one-on-one battle. However, once there were too many enemies, she was clearly restrained. This was related to the characteristics of assassins. Many of the iron rules that assassins followed were completely impractical in head-on battles. For example, assassins couldn't press forward fearlessly. Stealth and assassination were usual purposes of an assassin. Of course, Yichani was stronger than these people after all, so it only took her 100 seconds to grab the low-quality nature spiritual treasure, a stiletto. However, these people were not easy to deal with. The chase of more than 100 people almost instantly put Yichani in a passive position. Although the shadow-killing technique was powerful, the others' great daos were not weak. Yichani could enter the void world, and there were 7 or 8 people here who could enter the void world too. As for escaping, she couldn't. Although she didn't know how Han Fei knew that there was a high-quality nature spiritual treasure here, she believed in Han Fei's judgment. But if she didn't run, Yichani was at a complete disadvantage after only another 30 seconds. Everyone, seal off all her paths. I'll influence this place with the law of gravity. Let's compete after we solve this person. Use soul attacks. Those with strong soul power attack together. Thank you, readers. Yichani held on for another 20 seconds or so before she was bombarded by Dozens of attacks in a row. Just as 7 or 8 divine techniques covered the area, a 9-foot-long ring broadsword appeared in the air and shattered all the divine techniques. This person is Wang Han, a bandit from the West Wilderness. Although he is strong, there are only 2 of them. Let's attack together. If we can suppress Wang Han, the 9-foot-long ring broadsword in his hand is definitely a treasure too. Han Fei's voice rang in Yichani's mind. It's a pity that you can't even solve these people in a head-on clash. Do you still think you can kill Yi Qingchan? Now I'll attract their attacks, and you'll find their attack loopholes. Yichani gritted her teeth. Although she was reluctant, she had to cooperate with Han Fei in this battle. Someone set up a 10,000 sword killing array. Han Fei slashed out and broke through the 10,000 swords. While the person was shocked, he closed his hands and a soul sword shot out from his body. But just as the soul sword slashed out, a dagger pierced him from the side. Yichani could easily take advantage of such a loophole. But then, Han Fei retracted the knife and launched the 8th move of the sky cleaving star-cutting knife, blood knife skybreaking. As soon as this move shot out, a soul cultivator opposite him was stunned. Because he couldn't block it at all. Many people were also stunned, thinking that Wang Han was so strong. However, when their eyes fell on Han Fei's knife, 6 people in a row were pierced by Yichani because they were distracted for a moment. In the next moment, Han Fei suddenly appeared in front of Yichani and assisted her in attacking. Whenever Han Fei slashed, although he didn't directly hit the opponent's vital points, he created a slight loophole in their defense. Puff, puff, puff. Yichani suddenly realized that although there was only one more person, Han Fei, she was fighting too comfortably. She could almost find the opponents flaws from the moment when Han Fei confronted them head-on. After a while, the number of people who were pierced by Yichani actually reached a terrifying 200. It was also at that moment that, all of a sudden, a drop of sand glittering with a strange brilliance floated in the air in each of the tens of thousands of streams. Swish! 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 When the tens of thousands of sand particles gathered and turned into 2 daggers, the 2 daggers flew to Yichani and began to revolve around her. For a moment, these people's expressions changed. The spiritual treasure has chosen its master? These people seemed to be tempted again, but Han Fei said indifferently, I showed mercy just now. You have to be grateful. If you don't leave in 10 seconds, kill. Someone was moved and sighed in his heart. These 2 people are too strong. If they attacked them, there was a high chance that they would be killed. Everyone, I'm leaving. There are a lot of spiritual treasures. I must be alive to take them. I'll be on my way. This spiritual treasure is yours. Soon, all the hundreds of people ran away, and Yichani was communicating with the daggers. Half a day later, Yichani suddenly opened her eyes and looked at Han Fei. Weirdly. It's indeed a high-quality nature spiritual treasure. Han Fei smiled casually. How did you feel in the previous battle? Yichani said, it's because you're too strong that they keep showing flaws. Han Fei shook his head. No, this is cooperation, the strength of teammates. Assassins are loners. Even if it's a group of assassins, their cooperation is well planned. They can only be strong for a while, but not for long. You are good at assassination, but poor at head-on battles. You are very strong, but not strong enough, so with your current assassination ability, it is impossible for you to assassinate Yi Qingchan. Because she is not alone. Yi Chani frowned. Now that I have a high-quality nature spiritual treasure, she can't resist me. It's not up to you whether or not she can resist you. The second thing we're going to do now is to assassinate Yi Qingchan. This time, you still do it alone. Thank you, readers. 2 days later. This was a place called the Dark Stone Sea that might have been a huge lake or a sea area in the primeval era. There were jagged rocks everywhere. One of the characteristics of these rocks was that they couldn't be checked with perception. Every stone had to be refined to know if there were any treasures inside. For ordinary people, this was actually gambling on stones, but it consumed time. However, for ordinary itinerant cultivators, they couldn't go to dangerous places. Stone gambling was their only choice. Therefore, this Dark Stone Sea became the most popular place for countless itinerant cultivators. It would take at least 3 days to refine a stone. In the past, many people had been gambling here but couldn't obtain a single treasure until the God-fearing ancient land was closed. Some people got a spiritual treasure after refining the first stone. A female cultivator from the Primordial Divine Academy appeared here. Behind her, 2 guardians followed. One of them said via voice transmission, "Holy Lady, are we really going to do this? Wang Han has a carefree level body and is almost invincible in this God-fearing ancient land. If he is helping Yi Chani, how can you take the risk of luring them out with yourself? Stones for sale. Each of them is the best of the best, and there is a high chance that they contain spiritual treasures. Each stone only costs 10 refined stars. It's outrageously cheap. Connate spiritual treasures on sale at a low price. Each of them only costs 100 refined stars. Even if you open 10 stones, you might not be able to get one. If you want to buy one, buy it quickly. Otherwise, you won't be able to get one. Chaotic spiritual treasure, for sale. There is only one left, charging 3 divine quality techniques, 100 refined stars, and an ultra-quality godly weapon. In the outside world, it's simply impossible. Here, many strong masters set up various stalls. Of course, the quality of the items for sale was indeed excellent. Han Fei was sitting here, setting up a stall, with 3 connate spiritual treasures in front of him, as well as 17 or 18 stones he randomly picked. There was no telling who Yi Qingchan and Yi Chani had disguised themselves as, but they were both hiding among the crowd of itinerant cultivators. As for the Yin-Yang dual pendant, it also appeared here, but it was placed in a booth. However, in this place where everyone was in the perfected star transformation realm, it was no different from junk, so no one paid attention to the Yin-Yang dual pendant at all. Han Fei didn't wear his jade pendant either. Now that he had found Xia Xiaochan, the Yin-Yang dual pendant was meaningless. It was just a simple mid-quality godly weapon, so he gave it to Yi Chani. As for how Yi Chani would use it, that was up to her. Li Tai was in a good mood. Halfway through digging, he accidentally picked up a mid-quality godly weapon-level jade pendant. Although it was only a mid-quality godly weapon, he picked it up without any effort. Who wouldn't be happy about that? More importantly, when he picked up this mid-quality godly weapon, he found that the jade pendant seemed to be responding to something. Does it have some secret? Li Tai was immediately refreshed and quietly refined the blackfish jade pendant. Immediately afterward, he sensed an inexplicable summoning, as if something was attracting him. After a while, he came to a market for itinerant cultivators in the dark stone. See and quickly found the source of the summoning. It turned out to be a white jade pendant on a stall. Li Tai was not stupid. He immediately put a seal on his blackfish jade pendant to conceal the aura of the summoning. Then, after more than 4 hours, he pretended to be a passerby and walked past the shops. "Hey, boss, why is there a mid-quality godly weapon in your booth?" Li Tai picked up a connate spiritual treasure bell from the stall and looked at it, pretending to accidentally see the white jade pendant. The boss said, "Oh, this little fish jade pendant. I spent 10 refined stars to get it from a stone. What a huge loss. Hey, do you want this bell? If you want it, I can give this little fish jade pendant to you. Do you get it from a stone?" Li Tai looked puzzled, as if thinking that if it was dug out from a stone, the value of this pair of jade pendants might be much weaker. But if it was picked up, this jade pendant might be a little valuable. Li Tai pondered for a moment. This bell doesn't seem to have enough defense power. Do you have a better soul-suppressing spiritual treasure? The boss shrugged. No. Li Tai said, "What a pity. Hey, boss, I quite like this little fish jade pendant. Can I buy it with a refined star?" The boss chuckled. "Okay. Bro, if you don't mind, I can surely sell it." While Li Tai was talking to the boss of the stall, a dark tide was surging in this place. Countless perceptions and gazes were locking onto here. Not long after Li Tai left the stall, suddenly, a female disciple of the Primordial Divine Academy blocked his path. Li Tai looked puzzled. "Do I know you?" The female disciple from the Primordial Divine Academy smiled casually. "Yi Chani, do you think I'll just take this idiot as a test? It's possible in another place, but no matter how you disguise yourself here, you can't escape my eyes." Li Tai was confused. "Miss, I don't know what you are talking about. Is this fish jade pendant yours?" Thank you, readers. The female disciple of the Primordial Divine Academy revealed her original appearance. The Southern Dippers has a divine tracking secret technique. I'm not an assassin, but I know that top assassins are often the most harmless looking person. If I'm not mistaken, within half a day, you can trace me through the cellar of the jade pendant and find me. After lurking for 2 to 3 days, or even longer, you will really attack me. Although I am not a killer, I know that you will come to kill me, so from the beginning, this place has always been under my control. Every outsider is within my grasp. Buzz. Suddenly, the people who were setting up stalls, passing by, or refining stones, all put down what they were doing and unleashed their strength. Of course, there were also 100 people who accidentally entered this place, thinking that it was really a camp of itinerant cultivators. Of course, Hanfei also stood up. He had long replaced the original vendor and completely impersonated him. At this moment, he was watching the game with great interest. Yichani suddenly took action, holding a high-quality nature spiritual treasure. In an instant, a red line of blood spewed out of Yiqingchan's body. However, the moment Yiqingchan was killed, weird blood-colored runes appeared in all directions. In an instant, this place became a huge teleportation array. As for the 2 people beside Yiqingchan, they roared and spewed out terrifying sword beams that were above the monarch realm. The sword concealing technique? This sword was not used to attack Yichani, but to seal this place, blocking Yichani's path. Finally, Yichani couldn't pretend anymore. She didn't expect that this camp of nearly 3,000 itinerant cultivators was full of Yiqingchan's people. She had specifically observed these people. These people came and went, lively and bustling, selling goods, gambling on stones, and buying things, without any trace of performance or staging. She didn't expect that Yiqingchan would set up such a big trap and use so many people to ambush her. Buzz. Yichani's first reaction was to flee. Her plan would no longer work. However, before she could run, this place began to turn incorporeal. A teleportation array? Yichani was shocked. Yiqingchan could have surrounded and killed her. Why did she set up a teleportation array? Swish. When the scene changed, what appeared in front of her was a huge palm mountain. The land of lost souls? Yichani's expression changed drastically. In the next moment, she felt that the blood flowing in her body had completely stopped, and her body seemed to be burdened with infinite shackles. Her soul was directly expelled from her body. Yes, this land of lost souls was a land of inheritance. It was also a very special place of inheritance in the God-fearing ancient land besides the inheritance place of the goddess of night. In this place, one's body would be suppressed, and one could only comprehend the Tao with their soul. There was only one way to leave here, and that was to return to the body. This place was called the Land of Lost Souls, and it was the land of inheritance. To return the soul to the body, one had to withstand great pressure, and it would take at least about 6 hours. Even Han Fei felt that his body was heavy and his soul was forced to leave his body. His control technique immediately failed. However, Han Fei slashed back and killed the expert, controlled by him with his soul. Yiqingchan's figure appeared in the sky. I've been waiting for you for a long time. Wang Han, I have to admire your concealment technique. How can you control my people without being noticed when all my people are here? Han Fei laughed. You flatter me. Humph. Yiqingchan snorted coldly. You've got a carefree level body? Let's see what you can do now. Han Fei shrugged slightly and looked at Yichani. As I said, assassins have limitations. You've experienced too few head-on battles. For example, do you think you can still escape now? Yichani gritted her teeth. In a short period of time, repeated assassinations were indeed not in line with the assassin's rules. However, she felt that her combat power was enough after obtaining a high-quality nature spiritual treasure. She didn't expect the other party to put so many people here to ambush her. More importantly, Yiqingchan and hundreds of other experts seemed to have been waiting here and had taken their bodies back. Yichani said, you can think of a way to leave on your own. I know you can. Do it. Han Fei shook his head with a smile. That's the second thing. Unfortunately, you still failed. After that, Han Fei stepped in the air and looked at Yiqingchan. And you, in fact, you also fail. Why do you think I can't deal with you? Han Fei took a step forward and the blood sky blade appeared in his hand. With a backhand slash in the void, under the Ragnarok, the soul body of a strong master was directly minced. Yiqingchan's face changed greatly. How could he still have such strong soul power when his body was so sturdy? Soul power should be Wang Han's weakness. How could it be? Yiqingchan said, everyone, don't hold back. Use all your secret techniques. And kill Yichani's soul first. Yiqingchan didn't choose to do it herself, nor did she ask these people to attack Han Fei immediately. This was because she knew that as long as she attacked Yi Chani, she could restrain Han Fei. Even if Han Fei had other means, he wouldn't be a threat to her. Although Yi Qingchan was very strong herself, she was more cautious. After all, killing Yi Chani was the most important thing in her life. Thank you, readers. However, things never went as planned. However, Yi Qingchan didn't know Han Fei well, so her thoughts were the same as most people's. If your physique was strong, your soul was definitely your weakness. However, when Han Fei attacked, she found that her thinking was too simple. There were nearly 3,000 people attacking the two of them with soul techniques. Logically speaking, it was impossible for them to be defeated. However, Han Fei took out the mystic martial monarch armor and performed the turtle shell sky ceiling technique. He said, "Look, I know an outstanding assassin who is also good at soul-killing techniques. However, you can't possibly have a way to deal with so many people, even if you have a high-quality nature spiritual treasure. So, just stay here." Yi Chani asked, "What are you going to do?" Han Fei chuckled and didn't answer. He turned around and stepped into the range of the turtle shell heaven ceiling array. Kill him. This was the first time Yi Qingchan had encountered such a difficult enemy. How could such a person appear in this world? His body was at the carefree level, and his soul was also extremely powerful. How could such a situation happen? In the soul attack, the overwhelming techniques were all blocked 100 meters away from Han Fei. Han Fei summoned the blood sky blade and looked at Yi Qingchan. "Who gave you the illusion that you can kill me?" Han Fei said casually, "Go. These bodies are all yours." Buzz. Swish. The blood sky blade kept humming. He was exciting, too exciting. This guy was very murderous. He liked it very much. Although he couldn't kill so many strong masters with their souls, the essence of their flesh and blood made him experience a long-lost pleasure. If Han Fei could kill so many strong masters every day, he even felt that he could go further, break free from the shackles of a high-quality nature spiritual treasure, and enter a new realm. Puff. 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 Those experts whose bodies were suppressed by the blood sky blades couldn't move at all. As the blood sky blades cut them one after another, their flesh and blood were sucked dry and they were turned into dry skin and bones. Furthermore, they could revive even if they wanted to. For ordinary people, even if they were blown to pieces and their flesh and blood turned to dust and fog, they still existed. But for these people, their flesh and blood essence would disappear after they were killed by the blood sky blade. If they wanted to revive, they could only use a huge amount of resources to rebuild their bodies. But with the blood sky blade, could they rebuild their bodies? Instantly, the nearly 3,000 people panicked. Someone shouted, "Not good. This is a high-quality nature spiritual treasure. If we don't kill this person, we will all die." Someone was horrified. "We can only kill him by killing his soul." Faced with the soul-killing techniques of so many strong masters, Han Fei's 10,000 law sky traveling technique naturally had room to play, allowing him to move through space and transcend the laws of nature. However, a sky opener couldn't transform laws, so Han Fei could only transform Daos, but the effect was still not bad. Puff. 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 The Ragnarok was a perfect counter to soul attacks. Every time Han Fei attacked, a person died. In a moment, the souls of hundreds of people were Annihilated. Yi Qingchan's face was pale. That's impossible. Unless he is an extreme Dao. Soul refiner. Extreme Dao. Dual extreme Dao. This person must have taken the dual extreme Dao. But how is it possible? How can there be dual extreme Dao in this world? An extreme Dao cultivator's strength would far exceed that of a non-extreme Dao cultivator. Even a singular, extreme Dao cultivator was an extremely rare monster. She had never heard of a dual extreme Dao cultivator. Yi Qingchan clearly realized that if she couldn't kill such an enemy, the consequences would be dire. Holy Lady, this person is too powerful. We should restart the teleportation array, or we will definitely suffer heavy losses this time. Holy Lady, for now, we have to find another way. However, Yi Qingchan was unwilling to give up. It was not easy for her to set up this fatal trap. Once the God-ferrying ancient land trial was over, it would be even harder for her to kill them. Yi Qingchan gritted her teeth and took out a talisman. Seeing this, many guardians around her subconsciously exclaimed, "This is a divine tribulation. Holy Lady, you are crazy. Many of our strong masters are still here." Yi Qingchan couldn't care less at this moment. She had to kill Wang Han. If she didn't kill him today, he would definitely become a future threat. Therefore, no matter what the price was, he had to die. She shouted, "Everyone, abandon your bodies and come to me with your souls." For a moment, those strong masters were so shocked that they could no longer attack Han Fei, fearing that they would die on the spot if they ran any slower. The innocent people who were involved in the battle hadn't realized what was going on yet, but when they heard the word divine tribulation, they tried their best to run to Yi Qingchan. Yi Chani's face changed drastically. Having no time to hide under the protection of the mystic martial monarch armor, she rushed to Han Fei's side and shouted, "Go! This is not something you can withstand. This is a divine tribulation that no one below the great monarch realm can withstand." Han Fei also stopped at this time. A divine tribulation? In a place like the God-fearing ancient land, everyone's strength was suppressed to the perfected star transformation realm. No one could resist a divine tribulation. Even if his body was at the carefree level, he still couldn't resist it. In fact, even the heavenly Tao here might not care about it, because the God-ferrying ancient land was a place for gods to transcend tribulations to begin with. Would the appearance of the divine tribulation be interfered with by the heavenly Tao here? Han Fei couldn't be sure, but Yi Qingchan didn't delay at all and acted extremely decisively. With the talisman between her fingers, she immediately cast a spell. The talisman burned, and the sky changed color as thunder rumbled. Go! Thank you, readers. Yi Qingchan didn't even look at Han Fei and Yi Chani, because she didn't dare to stay either. She couldn't resist the power of the tribulation. Anyone who touched it would die. An array appeared under Yi Qingchan's feet, and her figure was teleported away. Even her own people had almost 100 people who didn't have time to retreat. These people's hearts skipped a beat, and they thought it was over. Boom! Like a bolt of lightning, a golden dragon's shadow appeared in the sky. Seeing this scene, Yi Chani was a little desperate. She looked at Han Fei and sighed slightly. "I'm sorry for implicating you." Han Fei said solemnly, "It's okay. I underestimated her." Han Fei stretched out his hand, and another small dragon appeared. There seemed to be a hint of madness in his voice. Divine tribulation? I have one. 2. This was what Han Fei got from Luo Xiaobai to deal with the heavenly races. Great monarch. He didn't expect it to be used here. Swish. The blood sky blade returned and entered Han Fei's body. Boom. Boom. Boundless power descended, and there was a dazzling golden light here, so dazzling that people couldn't open their eyes. Those who didn't have the time to escape with Yi Qingchan were almost instantly crushed into nothingness by this terrifying infinite power. In the entire land of lost souls, most of the itinerant cultivators couldn't escape the misfortune of destruction. If the divine tribulation was only a tribulation, the range might be limited, only targeting one person. However, if the divine tribulation was refined and turned into a weapon, its power and covering area was terrifying. To put it bluntly, when the two divine tribulations collided, the entire land of lost souls was enveloped. Only the divine spirit steel in the land of lost souls withstood the impact. It was also because of this that the seal on the land of lost souls seemed to be broken by the divine tribulation. Han Fei had a hunch and immediately pulled Yi Chani back to the turtle shell sky sealing array and entered his body again. Bang! The terrifying power hit the turtle shell sky sealing array, making it tremble. Han Fei looked solemn. He wasn't sure if the mystic martial monarch armor could resist the terrifying power of the divine tribulation. For the first time, Yi Chani realized that the power she was so proud of was completely useless in the face of such terrifying power. It wasn't even qualified to block this divine tribulation. Han Fei said indifferently, "Did you see that? Yi Qingchan is ruthless and decisive. This trap may have been set up not long after the God-ferrying ancient land opened to lure you into it. And this tribulation of the gods may be specially prepared for you. After all, even if she loses a divine tribulation, there will no longer be any obstacles for her in the monarch realm. She can also obtain a second divine path and have a double divine persona. This is a good deal." Han Fei said, "Otherwise, what can we do now? Run out and get ourselves killed?" Yi Chani couldn't help but be shocked. This turtle shell was extraordinary. It could block a divine tribulation and was at least a great monarch level treasure. Where did this guy get so many treasures? Did he have some secret treasure hunting technique? The turtle shell sky sealing array didn't disappoint Han Fei. 10 seconds, 100 seconds, all the way to more than 300 seconds. Crack. Just when Han Fei felt that he could weather through the power of the divine tribulation, a crack appeared on the mystic martial monarch armo. Han Fei and Yi Chani's hearts skipped a beat. Not good. The two divine tribulations erupted too closely to the mystic martial monarch armor. Although the mystic martial monarch armor had extraordinary defense, it might not be able to withstand the impact of the two divine tribulations. Han Fei took out the blade of hope and tried to cut open the timeline. However, under the cover of the divine tribulation, he couldn't cross time. Buzz. Activating the 6 Dao heavenly cicada wings, Han Fei flapped his wings, but it was still ineffective. Neither time nor space could be touched. He had a lot of treasures, but the Creation Jade Spirit Tower was probably the only one that could resist the divine tribulation. However, the Creation Jade Spirit Tower was only a low-quality nature spiritual treasure and probably couldn't resist it. As for the Blood Sky Blade, it was just a knife, not a defense-type nature spiritual treasure, and couldn't protect them at all. Han Fei's eyes flickered as he saw the flashing stone monument. That's right. The divine spiritual stone is left by a god. It can withstand the power of this divine tribulation. Han Fei immediately turned around and shouted at Yichani, "Stay here and don't move." Yichani asked, "What are you going to do?" Han Fei said, "I'm going to carry that stone steel back." Are you crazy? The power of the divine tribulation outside hasn't dissipated yet. If you go out, you will be crushed into powder in an instant. Thank you, readers. Yichani certainly knew that Han Fei was very strong, but could he be stronger than the divine tribulation? Only great monarchs could walk out of the barrier in such a situation. Han Fei didn't know what to do. The mystic martial monarch armor obviously couldn't resist it. He had thought of stealing Yi Qingchan's divine tribulation. However, if he couldn't even steal the low-quality nature spiritual treasure, the creation jade spiritual tower, back then, it was even less likely that he could steal the divine tribulation. And it was obviously meaningless to use the void-stealing technique on Yi Qingchan. Such a heavenly talent definitely had a very strong soul-suppressing spiritual treasure. Once he failed to steal it, his identity would be exposed. However, it also reminded Han Fei that void fishing might no longer be enough in the monarch realm. He didn't know if he could deduce void fishing again after he got the 8th vine. As soon as Yichani shouted, Han Fei had already disappeared from the turtle shell sky ceiling array. Buzz. When Han Fei entered the divine tribulation, a blood mist exploded almost instantly. Yichani's face was pale, although she didn't think of herself as Xia Xiaochan yet. At this moment, her heart skipped a beat, her face turned pale, and her mind went blank. It wasn't until she saw that Han Fei's body emitted a dazzling golden light, and he was walking against the power of the divine tribulation that she felt relieved. How is that possible? Yichani couldn't understand how Han Fei could remain unscathed under the power of the divine tribulation. Besides, what was that bloody mist just now? Wasn't it Han Fei's? Under the cover of the divine tribulation, Han Fei looked solemn. Fortunately, he wasn't far from the stone steel, and the invincible state of the great Tao of life replacement didn't disappoint him. 3 seconds later, Han Fei arrived in front of the stone steel, exploded a cloud of blood mist again, and continued to maintain the invincible state. In front of him, the stone steel was still, and the power of divinity was erupting. Even the divine tribulation couldn't shake it at all. However, although it had the power of divinity, it wasn't a true god after all. It was just a passive manifestation and didn't show any hostility to Han Fei. At this moment, because of the protection of the stone steel, the power of the divine tribulation could no longer attack Han Fei. Sure enough, this steel is a treasure stronger than the mystic martial monarch armor. Han Fei couldn't help but wonder if he could take this steel out of the god ferrying ancient land. If he could take it away, he would have a way to deal with a terrifying attack like the divine tribulation in the future. However, when Han Fei held the steel with both hands and exerted a huge force, the divinity that escaped immediately attacked Han Fei's body. Bang! Another layer of blood mist exploded on the surface of Han Fei's body. Yes. The great Tao of life replacement was used again. Although the stone steel had no spirituality, Han Fei still suffered a backlash from the divinity. Roar! Han Fei put his hands together and carried the stone steel with difficulty. Fortunately, this is just a steel without an owner. It's a pity that I can't connect to my origin star here. Otherwise, I would definitely be able to take it away. Han Fei felt it was a pity. If these stones could be taken away, how many steels would there be in this huge God-fearing ancient land? Each of them was probably equivalent to a high-quality nature spiritual treasure level defense type treasure. However, when Han Fei was about to carry the stone steel back, he discovered, to his shock, that his speed had been slowed 1,000 times, or even 10,000 times. Fortunately, the place Yi Qingchuan chose was the place where the stone steel comprehended the Tao, so the turtle shell sky ceiling array was only thousands of kilometers away. Yi Chani was dumbfounded when she saw that. Could it really be moved? Under the impact of divinity, there was actually someone who could move the stone steel? Immune to both physical and soul attacks? Invincible state? Yi Chani seemed to have guessed something. She didn't believe that there was an invincible technique in this world, but she had to believe it now. Similarly, she couldn't help but think, if a person had such an invincible state, wouldn't he be really invincible? No, he can only maintain his invincible state for 3 seconds. Every 3 seconds, a blood mist will erupt. He must have paid some price. Although she didn't know what the price was, it couldn't be simple. After more than 10 minutes, Han Fei performed the great Tao of life replacement 13 times in total and finally carried the divine stone steel back. At this time, there were 7 or 8 cracks on the mystic martial monarch armor. Bang! Putting down the divine stone steel, Han Fei felt extremely relaxed. With a thought, he immediately put away the old turtle's mystic martial monarch armor. It was a pity that it might be broken if it held on a little longer. Even now, Han Fei didn't know if the mystic martial monarch armor could withstand the attacks of the monarch or divine realms. Buzz. The divine brilliance enveloped Han Fei and Yi Chani. Because Han Fei didn't move the stone steel again, the divine pressure didn't hurt them. Han Fei took a few breaths and looked at Yi Chani. Seeing her eyes widen, he thought that she was shocked by him, so he said with a smile, "You see, you owe me your life again. Otherwise, do you think you can deal with this divine tribulation?" However, Yi Chani pointed behind Han Fei. Huh? Han Fei suddenly felt that something was wrong. He quickly looked back, only to see 3 sky-connecting paths that seemed to be shrouded in fog. Instantly, Han Fei's expression changed drastically. Are these divine paths? Yes, Han Fei was shocked. He couldn't help but think of the divine path he saw in the Thunder Note ancient temple. The 3 paths behind him seemed to be a little similar to the divine path. Yi Chani said in disbelief, "Why you've awakened 3 divine paths at once? You've awakened your divine paths just by carrying a stone steel?" Han Fei was also shocked. One had to know that he was walking the 2 paths of the human supreme divine technique and the God-fiend body. However, it was said that the human supreme divine technique would be stuck at the peak of the great monarch realm. Logically speaking, the divine path shouldn't appear now. Logically speaking, he wouldn't find his divine path until he cultivated the human supreme technique to the extreme. How could he expect that he could awaken the divine path now? Han Fei couldn't help but look up along the so-called divine paths. As for the left one, when Han Fei tried to focus his eyes on it, he suddenly saw a strange light flickering in the dark chaos. His perception seemed to be pulled into the endless void. He saw a pair of eyes. In those eyes, he saw all creatures growing at a visible speed. In the starry space, a divine embryo was Born. Han Fei was immersed in an inexplicable feeling. He felt that he seemed to have turned into a divine fetus. One moment, he was a fetus, and the next moment, he was above the heavens. In the next moment, his body crossed the infinite darkness and walked onto a black river. At this point, Han Fei's vision had blurred. He seemed to feel the inexplicable sadness transmitted by the divine fetus. Not just Han Fei, Yi Chani seemed to be infected by an inexplicable emotion, too. She couldn't stop crying. She felt extremely sad, as if she could understand Han Fei's sadness. At that moment, for some reason, Yi Chani felt that the man in front of her was so bitter that she couldn't help but sympathize with him and wanted to comfort him. Puff. Han Fei suddenly spewed out a mouthful of essence blood. When he woke up again, 2 lines of bloody tears flowed out of his eyes. Yi Chani hurried forward. "What's wrong?" Han Fei said solemnly, "Leave me alone." At this moment, Han Fei felt extremely sad. A moment ago, he was still teasing Yi Chani, but at this moment, he felt that his Dao heart was a little unstable, and he even had a feeling of despair and hopelessness. No, this is not the right path. Han Fei's face was twisted. He judged that this path was too bitter and exhausting. In the end, there was only sorrow. Then, the first road on the right began to bloom. Han Fei seemed to hear a faint sound from that road. When he looked over, he felt the immersive feeling again. However, as soon as Han Fei looked at this road, he saw nothing but blood. He saw billions of stars collapsing and all creatures dying. He could even feel that this world and this vast sea of stars had tried their best, but in the end, they still couldn't escape destruction. At this moment, Yi Chani, who was standing behind Han Fei, stepped back. Because Han Fei was bursting with a strong killing intent that she had never seen before. When she looked at Han Fei again, it was as if she was looking at a peerless demon god. She instinctively felt fear, and even her body couldn't help but tremble slightly. At this moment, Han Fei finally saw the extreme of this path. He seemed to see something ominous. He saw infinite shadows in the sea of stars. He wanted to kill crazily. Han Fei, wake up. Yi Chani seemed to sense that Han Fei was too immersed in a certain situation to extricate himself. She tried to touch Han Fei, only to be hit by the counterforce and vomit blood. Han Fei came back to himself. When he looked again, he suddenly found that there seemed to be nothing in the world except death. With a shudder, Han Fei's mind detached from this divine path, only feeling that his heart was beating heavily. He looked back at Yi Chani, only to find that she was lying on the edge of the stone stele with difficulty. Her body was drenched with blood, her face was ghastly pale, and she seemed to be out of breath. Yi Chani struggled to open her mouth. "Your killing intent is too strong." Cough. Han Fei's face was all dark. He hurried to Yi Chani and stuffed 3 or 4 masses of liquid divine light into her mouth, and she finally recovered a little. Yi Chani looked at Han Fei with a complicated expression. "Go see the last divine path." The manifestation of the divine path doesn't necessarily last long. You can't miss it. Yi Chani had seen the divine path herself, only to find that Han Fei's divine path was so crazy that it made her tremble in fear. Han Fei nodded slightly and stuffed 4 or 5 balls of liquid divine light into Yi Chani's mouth. "If anything happens, you can attack me and wake me." Up. Han Fei didn't say anything more to Yichani, because he still felt that the second divine path was wrong. He had almost lost himself in the slaughter and completely fell into that divine path. At this moment, there was only the divine path in the middle. When Han Fei looked at the divine path, he suddenly saw a person walking towards him. Me? Yes, Han Fei discovered, to his shock, that the person walking towards him was him. However, the self on the divine path was walking more and more slowly, because his vitality was gradually dissipating. In the end, he couldn't walk anymore and just stood there looking at him. Buzz. Han Fei suddenly came back to himself because he remembered something. When he was standing on the green jade stone bridge back then, he saw another him looking at him under the bridge. At that time, Han Fei thought that it was his future self. His future self had infinite possibilities, so he could make something out of nothing and walk on any path he wanted. It wasn't until he saw his reflection under the bridge and the direction from which he came on the green jade stone bridge that he rejected the idea of the past, the future, and the present. Reincarnation. After a long silence, Han Fei finally murmured these two words. Sure enough, the third divine path was reincarnation. As for the reincarnation, it must be related to the reincarnation path, which meant that it must be related to the green jade stone bridge. In the past, when he stood on the green jade stone bridge and looked down from the bridge, he seemed to see 3 roads. Those 3 roads were also misty at first. From the looks of it, perhaps these 3 divine paths had existed from the beginning and he had seen them countless times. However, he had never seen them so clearly. No wonder I couldn't understand the green jade stone bridge before. It turns out that those 3 paths are actually 3 divine paths. Now, the stone steel in the land of lost souls reflected these 3 divine paths again, making Han Fei suddenly realize something new. In the past, the 3 paths of the green jade stone bridge, except for the Great Tao in the middle, which was his original Great Tao, were all auxiliary and could be switched to other Great Taos at any time. He thought that they were used to switch Great Taos. But now, Han Fei found that his understanding was too superficial. This was because on second thought, a Great Tao was just a Great Tao, and a Great Tao wasn't the final path. Therefore, he had only seen the surface before. The path of sorrow and the path of slaughter just now were the true manifestation of those 2 paths. So, this is my divine path? The 3 divine paths gradually faded and disappeared, and Han Fei returned to peace. Therefore, after reaching the peak of the supreme divine technique, there must be a way out. Otherwise, this divine path wouldn't be revealed at all. Behind Han Fei, Yichani asked, "Have you comprehended it?" Han Fei looked back. "Comprehend what?" Yichani said, "Of course it's about how to embark on your divine path. The divine path is fixed. If you can see a divine path, there must be a way to step on it. Have you grasped the way to step on it?" Han Fei shook his head. "No. However, maybe I have a little idea. But it doesn't matter. It won't be too late to study it when I become a great monarch. At least, I have a clear direction now." Yichani looked at Han Fei with a complicated expression. She had never heard of anyone with 3 divine paths. Even if she killed Yi Qingchan, she could only get a second divine path, but Han Fei had already got 3. Han Fei turned around and looked at Yichani with a smile. "Are you shocked? What are you going to do?" Yichani realized that something was wrong. Hanfei suddenly looked as wretched as before, and her heart skipped a beat. Yichani hurriedly said, "That's only the second thing. There's still the third thing." Hanfei grinned and said, "Oh. Do you know what I'm going to do?" Yichani hurriedly stepped back. "I'm warning you, don't come any closer. Otherwise, I'll jump into the divine tribulation." Hanfei said, "I don't think you can do the third thing." Yichani shook her head. "How do you know I can't do it if I haven't tried?" Hanfei smiled and said, "I originally thought that the third thing was to give you 3 chances to escape my tracking. But now we are trapped here. I'm afraid we can't get out until the law turbulence, caused by the divine tribulation, stabilizes. What do you think will happen if a man and a woman are alone in a room?" Yichani hurriedly said, "I can run. My concealment technique is unparalleled. I'll definitely be able to escape your pursuit." Hanfei shook his head slightly. "What is mine. You're just reincarnated into a fruit. Even if you reincarnate into a god, I can still tame you." Hanfei said again, "But the third thing I want you to do now has changed. I want you to completely open your soul." Yichani asked, "What do you want?" Hanfei said, "Your life is mine now. Why do you care? Do you think I'll eat you?" Yichani's face flushed. After a moment of silence, she asked, "If I release my soul, will the third task be considered complete? And once we leave this place, will you let me go?" Hanfei nodded with a smile. "Of course, I mean what I say." "Okay." Yichani steeled her heart and opened her soul. The only thing Hanfei could do was to thoroughly search her soul. Although in that case, she would have no secrets from Hanfei, she would rather have her soul searched as long as she could win. If Hanfei wanted to use this to awaken her missing soul and memories, she didn't mind. If she could restore the missing soul and memories, the inner demon would be eliminated, and the road ahead would be smooth. Yichani said, "You are the human emperor. I hope you can keep your word." "Of course." Yichani sat cross-legged, closed her eyes, and completely released her mind. Without any hesitation. The smile on Hanfei's face gradually settled. He wanted to try again. He believed that Xia Xiaochan's soul couldn't disappear, because eldest senior brother had taken away Xia Xiaochan's complete soul. The so-called missing soul was probably because eldest senior brother was afraid of being discovered, so he pressed this layer of soul so deeply that it was difficult for it to erupt. Hanfei pointed his finger and his soul rushed into Xia Xiaochan's soul sea. Yichani seemed to sense something. "Why did you come in on your own?" Hanfei didn't speak. His huge soul mass was not something Xia Xiaochan could compare to. Their souls were intertwined, and countless memory fragments were intertwined and entangled. Yichani felt like dying. Was the fusion of souls any different from dual cultivation? She was brought into all kinds of memories. Sometimes, she couldn't even tell who she was. She could even sense the secrets hidden in Hanfei's mind and soul, countless times. After a long time, Yichani blushed after Hanfei's soul returned, and countless memories flooded her mind. Yichani blushed. "You are despicable, shameless, obscene." Looking at Yichani's ashamed and resentful face, Hanfei couldn't help but shake his head. "It doesn't work? It seems that there's only one move left." Hearing Hanfei's exclamation, Yichani couldn't help but step back to the edge of the stone stele. "What else do you want?" twist, cause, and effect. Han Fei looked at Yi Chani and said word by word. Han Fei said those words word by word. Yes, when he made an agreement with Xia Xiaochan, Han Fei had already decided the cause of the causality. The worst case scenario was that he wanted to use the law of causality to wake Yi Chani up, and this result would be that Yi Chani would spontaneously dual cultivate with him because of her awakening. Han Fei decided to set dual cultivation as the effect because he knew that Yi Chani would definitely refuse to dual cultivate with him. However, the missing soul body in Yi Chani's soul, which was Xia Xiaochan's soul body, would definitely be willing. Therefore, once the cause and effect were formed, it meant that Xia Xiaochan had been awakened. Yi Chani was still vigilant. It seemed that nothing had changed in her. Han Fei didn't move either. He looked at her solemnly until Yi Chani suddenly felt that her soul sea was on a rampage, as if some power was trying to break out of it. Ah! Yi Chani couldn't help but cover her head, and Han Fei frowned slightly. Because the power of cause and effect twisting was uncontrollable, he rarely used this technique. Han Fei certainly didn't want any accidents, so he couldn't help but feel a little nervous. Yi Chani seemed to have a splitting headache. After half an hour, she suddenly raised her head and shouted, Han Fei. Yes, it's me. Han Fei's eyes glittered, because Yi Chani's eyes and tone had changed. But Yi Chani's angry voice came next, I don't want it. As soon as she said so, Yi Chani said, you want it. Han Fei hurriedly said, don't panic. Take your time. You two should get along peacefully. It's best if you confuse. Yi Chani scoffed. Shameless. I don't want to dual cultivate with him. Yi Chani said, he's my man. I want to dual cultivate with him. Yi Chani said, split yourself out. Yi Chani said, you are me. I am still me. You are just a part of me. Give up resistance. Yi Chani was communicating with herself, but Han Fei knew that under the power of causality, Xia Xiaochan was trying to suppress and fuse with Yi Chani. And the best way to fuse with her was to break Yi Chani's bottom line, which was dual cultivation. However, after fighting for a full hour, Han Fei frowned harder and harder. Han Fei took a deep breath. Here I am. Come here. Don't come over. Han Fei took out the mystic martial monarch armor again and sealed this place to prevent Yi Chani from snatching control of her body. This time, Han Fei didn't hold back. The arrays under his feet were interconnected, and the god-sealing spear locked down this place one after another. Han Fei took off his clothes, and Yi Chani and Xia Xiaochan fought for control of their clothes. However, maybe because of Xia Xiaochan's recovery, Yi Chani failed to win. No. Another moment later. Suddenly, there was a tremendous shaking. Thunder from the sky stirred the earth's fire, and the void trembled with ripples. Everyone fell silent. At the moment when Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan duel cultivated, Yi Chani's soul seemed to be fusing with Xia Xiaochan's main soul, so she didn't speak. The fusion lasted for 7 days and 7 nights, until Yi Chani suddenly said, you big fool, you've finally come to me. Buzz. Han Fei was immediately excited. Girl, have you completely recovered your memories? Xia Xiaochan put her arms around Han Fei's neck and said in Han Fei's ears, I knew you were coming from the beginning, but she was too strong for me to get out. In fact, your idea is right, but you are too stupid. You should have caught her and dual cultivated with her at the beginning. If the first time didn't work, then the second time. If the second time didn't work, the third time. When the time comes, her soul will collapse, and I can take the opportunity to fuse with her. Ah, well. Han Fei couldn't help but sigh. Isn't this too much? Xia Xiaochan bit Han Fei's shoulder. But didn't you still choose to do it in the end? Can't you tame your own wife? Han Fei grinned in high spirits. What about Yichani? Xia Xiaochan said, Yichani? Yichani is me. It's just because the memories in my soul fell into a long slumber that my soul produced new memories and formed a fake personality, Yichani. All her experiences are actually my own. So she is only a part of my soul after all. She is fusing with me now. Fake personality? In other words, she's still an independent personality? Xia Xiaochan said, I don't care. Anyway, she is me, and I am still me. When I completely fuse with her, there will only be one main body left. Han Fei couldn't help being suspicious. Was the effect of cause and effect twisting so great this time? Han Fei said, come on, in order to continue helping you fuse with her, let's do it again. What? Bang, bang, bang. The land of lost souls had become a forbidden place. Energy raged here. Most of the people who came here were just curious about what happened here and then immediately left. In the land of lost souls. While fusing with Yichani's consciousness, Xia Xiaochan deduced her techniques through the demon purification pot. Han Fei also got great news from Xia Xiaochan, which was that there was a small vine of the demon purification pot in the miracle forest. 3 months later, 2 figures walked out of this dangerous place full of surging energy. Xia Xiaochan said, we're finally out. I wonder how Zhang Xuanyu and the others are doing. I haven't seen them for a long time. Let's go find them. But Han Fei shook his head slightly. With their strength, they can do whatever they want in the God-ferrying ancient land. Yi Qingchan didn't hesitate to launch a divine tribulation to kill you. It's time to take revenge. That's true. However, Xia Xiaochan frowned slightly. However, what I am afraid of is that Yi Qingchan may have another divine tribulation. Another one? Even Han Fei was surprised. Only powerhouses at the level of eldest senior brother could get a divine tribulation, couldn't they? Why could the miracle forest prepare 2 divine tribulations for a holy lady? Xia Xiaochan said, if I've guessed right, there is another divine tribulation. That should belong to me. My master once mentioned that he would prepare a divine tribulation for me, but I was still too weak back then and didn't have the power to control the divine tribulation at all. Yi Qingchan and I were competitors, so she and I probably had the same divine tribulation, but then my master was murdered, so I didn't get the divine tribulation. Han Fei pondered for a moment. This was a little troublesome. Yi Qingchan was a very decisive person. From launching the divine tribulation to releasing it, it took her almost no time. She didn't even remind her own people in advance to dodge. With her personality, once she found herself in a perilous situation, she would definitely use the other divine tribulation. Han Fei pondered for a moment. The limitations of the void-stealing technique weren't enough to stop the outbreak of the divine tribulation. In that case, he could only assassinate Yi Qingchan so that she wouldn't have a chance to use the divine tribulation. In that case, he had to use his real strength. Besides, he only had one chance. If he couldn't kill Yi Qingchan, his identity would definitely be exposed. Han Fei said, got it, but it doesn't matter. Yi Qingchan will definitely die. However, does Yi Qingchan know that you're still alive now? Xia Xiaochan shook her head. No. If I die, my divine path will only reappear in the miracle forest. If she wants to obtain my divine path, she can only return to the miracle forest and obtain it from the miracle tree. Therefore, I think she doesn't know that I am still alive. Han Fei frowned. If Yi Qingchan is dead, will you have to? Xia Xiaochan nodded. If she dies, I can only go to the miracle forest tree to get the second divine path. However, if Yi Qingchan dies, will they still kill me? Then I'll be the only candidate for the Holy Lady. If I die too, it will be equivalent to the miracle forest losing a powerful future god. Han Fei smiled. You're quite confident. Xia Xiaochan blushed. Humph, of course. We are also top heavenly talents. Now. Sword abyss, god-ferrying ancient land. This was a precipice abyss. On the precipice, there were countless swords inserted. There was once a sword expert who became a god. On the day he became a god, he left 3 sword souls in the world, hidden among the billions of swords. So far, 2 of the 3 sword souls had been taken away. Generally speaking, only sword cultivators were willing to go to the sword abyss to find opportunities. This was because the opportunity of the sword soul was too difficult to obtain. It was unknown how many times the god ferrying ancient land had been opened before 2 sword souls were found. Therefore, under normal circumstances, only when people felt that there was nothing worth exploring and didn't know where to go to search for treasure would they come to the sword abyss to find opportunities. For this reason, not many people came to the sword abyss. At this moment, Yi Qingchan was in the sword abyss. In this place where sword chi was like clouds, there was actually surging sword chi entangled around Yi Qingchan. If anyone saw this, they would be surprised. No one would expect that the Holy Lady of the Miracle Forest was actually a sword cultivator. Not far away from Yi Qingchan, a handsome man was holding a sword horizontally in front of him, condensing sword chi. All the sword chi was shattered when they were half a foot away from this person. Suddenly, the man opened his eyes. At that moment, billions of swords were vibrating in the sword abyss. Seeing this situation, Yi Qingchan couldn't help but look overjoyed. Outside the sword abyss, someone was shocked. Someone triggered the sword abyss. The third sword soul is about to appear. Who is it? Who has the ability to trigger the sword abyss? Strongest swordsman? This person is definitely the strongest swordsman. Who is he? I met Yi Tianren from the Mirage sect once. This person's swordsmanship is unparalleled. Is it him? As people discussed, Yi Tianren was also shocked. He had worked so hard here for 5 months and still hadn't won the approval of the sword abyss. Who was it? Could it be? Yi Tianren couldn't help but look at the other side with an awful expression. Jian, Wu, Dao. Swish. 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 Sword chi gathered and finally condensed into a huge sword shadow, stabbing at Jian Wu Dao. The latter didn't resist, but released his mind. When the huge sword shadow stabbed him, the center of his eyebrows cracked, and a dark red sword mark appeared. Swish. This grand occasion lasted for a full 100 seconds. Finally, the center of this person's eyebrows closed, and the third sword soul of the sword abyss was completely subdued. Wu Dao. Yi Qingchan, like an innocent little girl, jumped into the man's arms. Wu Dao, I knew you could do it. Throughout history, you should be at the peak of the sword Dao. A trace of gentleness appeared at the corner of the sword cultivator's mouth. He stroked Yi Qingchan's long hair and said lightly, not yet. There was once a person who was extremely dazzling. He killed monarchs as easily as crushing an ant when he was only in the perfected star transformation realm. When he reached the great monarch realm, he was like a sword god. In order to search for the sword Dao, he didn't hesitate to degenerate into a devil. He was Li Tiangan. Yi Qingchan pouted. How old is Li Tiangan? If he is in the same realm as you, he is no match for you at all. The corners of Jian Wudao's mouth curled up slightly. After the god ferrying ancient land trial, I'm going to the East Sword Pavilion. Humph. No, let's go together after we get married. Anyway, after the god ferrying ancient land trial, the joust will start. With your strength, it won't take long. Jian Wudao frowned slightly. I still don't like to show it in front of others. Yi Qingchan changed her cold look and said cutely, I don't care. My husband's talent in the sword Dao is unparalleled in the sea realm. You keep a low profile, but I don't want to. I want the entire sea realm to see you transform into the king of the sword Dao. Well, fine. I just can't resist you. A slight gleam flashed across Yi Qingchan's eyes, but it was gone in a flash and was soon replaced by the innocent delight of a girl. Buzz. At this moment, a sword shadow cut through the sky and arrived in an instant. Yi Tianren glanced at the two hugging and frowned slightly. Holy Lady Qingchan? Jian Wu Dao. Jian Wudao glanced at Yi Tianren indifferently and nodded slightly. I know. Your strength is not bad. Yi Tianren's eyelids twitched slightly. I didn't expect that Jian Wudao, the first place on the god roll in the sky-opening realm, would fall in love. Holy Lady Qingchan, since you and Jian Wudao are in love, why do you bother to hold that joust? Yi Qingchan's face returned to its usual coldness and she snorted. Do I have a choice? There are countless big forces in the Central Sea Divine Realm. Even if I'm the Holy Lady, so what? If I keep refusing, I will only bring disaster to the Miracle Forest. If Wu Dao had a powerful super force behind him, do you think I would still hold a joust for a spouse? Jian Wu Dao said casually, don't worry. I'll shut everybody up in the joust. Yi Tianren agreed with him. He stared at Jian Wu Dao and said, the third sword soul is yours. Very good. Can you let me feel it? I want to see what's special about this sword soul. Jian Wu Dao's fighting intent was not strong. He shook his head slightly. I suggest you don't try. You're not ordinary either. But I'm afraid that after the battle, you will have inner demons and your Dao heart will be destroyed. What a braggart. Slap. Yi Tianren was also a proud and aloof person. Even when facing Han Fei, his fighting spirit was still high. Now, it was the same when facing the former number one of the god roll. I, Yi Tianren, can be defeated by others, but not by the sword Dao. Even if the so-called sword soul was obtained by you, so what? Without that sword soul, I am still Yi Tianren. Sword rises, tide sea. Around Yi Tianren, everything floated. Behind him, an extremely huge sword shadow rose from the ground. When the sword shadow completely took shape, the sword body was huge, more than 100,000 feet long. Jian Wudao patted Yi Qingchan's shoulder gently. Wait for me for a while. Yi Qingchan's eyes were full of admiration. Wudao, I believe in you. Having no Dao in your eyes is the greatest Dao. Yi Qingchan dodged for now. At this moment, many sword cultivators had also rushed over. Seeing this scene, they couldn't help but exclaim. Yi Tianren is competing with someone in swordsmanship? Good lord, who is that person? Is he worth Yi Tianren's attention? It's said that more than 400 years ago, Yi Tianren comprehended the sword Dao, entered the carefree level with 1 slash, and reached the peak of the carefree level with 3 slashes. How many slashes has this been? I don't know. Anyway, it's so powerful. Who can resist such sword intent? Huh. That person. I recognize that person. It's him, the #1 expert on the god roll in the sky-opening realm, the only super expert who refuses to join any force, Jian Wudao. It's him? The one who stayed at the top of the god roll for a short time and wasn't recognized? It's him. It's said that he was killed when he refused the invitations of the major forces and angered the strong. He's still alive. Heavens, and alive, first place on the god roll. Can he recreate the glory of the god roll without a powerful background? Then who triggered the sword abyss's sword soul? I don't know. The sword soul belongs to whoever wins. Yi Tianren's sword blossom is too strong. I think it's him. After all, no matter how powerful Jian Wudao is, he's still an itinerant cultivator. In the end, it's impossible for an itinerant cultivator to compare with the top geniuses of major forces. Of course, I'm talking about various resources, not talent. Kill. A huge sword that was tens of thousands of feet long raged across the sword abyss. Jian Wudao's expression was solemn as the sword techniques clashed. Seeing that the huge sword was about to approach, but Jian Wudao hadn't attacked, many people's hearts were in their throats. Clang! The billowing sword chi rippled in all directions. Many of the onlookers were even sent flying or even pierced by the sword chi. Look, what's that? Many people looked in the direction of the voice and saw that Jian Wudao raised one arm, and the 3-foot-long sword in his palm completely blocked the huge sword. Jian Wudao said indifferently, the power of the sword is already nothing to me. How can the power of the big sword be compared to a sword? Break. Crack. Starting from the tip of the sword, a crack ran through half of the huge sword. Crack. 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 The giant sword cracked at a speed visible to the naked eye and then exploded. In the violent sword chi, a trace of blood oozed out of the corner of Yi Tianren's mouth. Hiss. Someone exclaimed, how is it possible? He broke it with one hand? Someone was shocked. Is Jian Wudao so strong? So strong. This is simply not the power of the sky-opening realm. Everyone was amazed, but Yi Tianren was still arrogant and didn't feel defeated at all, because of the collapse of this sword. The second sword, sword out, infinity. Sword chi surged out of Yi Tian's body. He pushed his hands forward, and a 3-inch-long sword emerged from the center of his palms. Clank, clank, clank. In the sword abyss, tens of thousands of swords vibrated, and the sword chi that was wandering in this space was actually surging towards Yi Tianren's sword. With every wisp of sword chi injected, the small sword became bigger. This time, the sword was thousands of meters long. It still looked magnificent, but its power was at least 3 levels higher than the previous strike. Terrifying. It's hard to imagine that anyone in his same realm can resist such a sword. From the looks of it, the person who triggered the sword abyss seems not to be Tianren. The sword just now was also very powerful, but it was not weaker than Jian Wudao's one-handed small sword. This sword. However, Jian Wudao smiled casually. Interesting. The sword should cover all the 8 directions, borrowing the power of heaven and earth, and the laws of all things. However, it is not enough. Your sword has a soul, but lacks intent. Jian Wudao closed his eyes slightly and formed a sword with his fingers. This time, the sword chi seemed to condense into a physical body, turning into a palm-sized small sword that stabbed at the huge sword. Bang! 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 Ka ka ka. Under everyone's shocked gaze, Yi Tianren's extremely powerful sword was shattered inch by inch. As Yi Tianren spewed out a mouthful of blood, the sword shattered. Yi Tianren put his hands together, trying to block the remaining power of the small sword. However, he was pushed thousands of kilometers away by the sword and slammed into a cliff before stopping. At this moment, the audience was speechless. Yi Qingchan smiled. This was what her man should be like. Her man must be the strongest man. It's a pity that Wang Han is dead. Otherwise, I should have Wudao crushed him ruthlessly. Cough, cough. Amidst the billowing smoke and dust, Yi Tianren's voice was hoarse. You said, my sword has a soul, but lacks intent? Ridiculous. The third strike, sword. Perishing, leaving no trace. Buzz. For a moment, within the sword abyss, all the sword intent seemed to be transforming. It was a faint sadness, as if they were reluctant to part with an old friend. This sword was ferocious and dazzling with golden light. After the sword was drawn, it shattered all the way as if it had broken free from its shackles. Then, the invisible sword disappeared from everyone's sight. At this moment, the sword abyss trembled, and rays of light broke out of the cliff. Countless fragments flew towards Yi Tianren in rays of light. A spiritual treasure, a nature spiritual treasure. Why is this nature spiritual treasure broken? A shattered sword flew towards Yi Tianren. The fragments gathered in midair and finally condensed into a long sword, floating directly beside Yi Tianren. As expected of a sword Dao heavenly talent, the spiritual treasure chooses him as its master. Shall we snatch it? Many people were tempted, but now was the time when Yi Tianren's sword intent was at its strongest. If they approached it this time, the consequences were unpredictable. However, Yi Tianren didn't even look at that spiritual treasure longsword. Instead, he looked straight at Jian Wudao. Faced with this sword, Jian Wudao frowned slightly. The ultimate realm of the sword is like the ultimate Dao. Even if there are 10,000 Dao in the world, I can kill it with a single slash. Clank. Around Jian Wudao, cracks appeared in the void. The heavenly Dao retreated as a sword struck out from his palm. Rumble. In an instant, within 100,000 miles of the sword abyss, dust flew, and sword intent swept over. Hundreds of millions of long swords swayed and clanked. The onlookers were all shocked. Did Yi Tianren repulse this strike? The sword chi in the sword abyss was too strong. Once perception permeated it, it would be instantly shattered. However, they saw that tens of thousands of kilometers of smoke and dust, like rolling dragons and snakes, floated in the air. Then, the smoke and dust turned into a sword and slashed in the opposite direction, in the direction of Yi Tianren. Like a torrent of sword chi, it was unstoppable. Just like others, Yi Qingchan had to avoid such a terrifying sword technique, and had to leave the sword abyss for the time being. However, her eyes flickered with a shining light. This was the man she had taken a fancy to. He would be her Tao companion. If she became a god in the future, her third divine path would be equally powerful. She would become the most dazzling miracle in the history of the miracle forest. However, just as Yi Qingchan was excited and fantasized about her future godhood, she suddenly felt something wrong. It was a fatal threat that emerged in an instant, so quickly that she didn't notice it at all just now. At this moment, everyone was focused on the battle between the two sword geniuses in the sword abyss. Who would pay attention to Yi Qingchan, who was watching the battle? However, just at this moment, the heavenly Tao seemed to stop operating in an instant. In the sword abyss, 10,000 swords hummed, and the terrifying sword torrents that were like a torrent passing through trembled. Many sword intents were actually crushed by this invisible force. Slash! A blood-red knife light bloomed behind Yi Qingchan, and Yi Qingchan felt her head sink slightly. Her mid-quality nature spiritual treasure level soul suppressing godly weapon voluntarily left her body and turned into a bell, trying to protect her. Almost at the same time, her amulet, the jade necklace on her neck, glowed. Clang! Clang! By the time Yi Qingchan realized what was going on, the bell had been slashed away, and the protective light turned into a goddess, which also blocked a terrifying knife light. Yi Qingchan retreated quickly. Her first reaction was to summon a page of the divine talisman, which appeared between her fingers. It was the divine tribulation that she used on Hanfei earlier. Puff. Ah. But Yi Qingchan didn't have time to activate the divine tribulation at all. Suddenly, she felt a pain in her wrist. To her shock, she found that her hand and the divine tribulation were gone as if they had been bitten off by something. It was also at this moment that another dazzling saber beam appeared out of thin air. This saber beam was not something a sky opener could resist. Qingchan. How dare you? Jian Wudao's reaction was already very fast. When the saber beam appeared, he had already given up attacking Yi Tianren. He flashed out of the sword abyss. The goddess phantom on Yi Qingchan's neck roared, but in the god-ferrying ancient land, the goddess phantom was also suppressed. She protected Yi Qingchan once, but on a closer look, she only blocked a saber beam. When she tried to grab the knife light that was going to kill Yi Qingchan, she found a turtle shell blocking her way. At this moment, the only thing Yi Qingchan could do was to materialize her battle suit and summon her companion spirit. However, that slash was too fast. It was completely on a different level from Yi Chani's assassination. Yi Qingchan believed that her protective magic weapon was very strong and that she was very safe. If the assassin wanted to kill her, he had to break her soul, suppressing spiritual treasure first. Even if he broke her soul suppressing spiritual treasure, she still had the protection of the goddess phantom. Even if he used the power of the carefree level or the immortal level in the god ferrying ancient land, he might not be able to break the protection of the goddess. Even if he could break the protection of the goddess with a divine tribulation in hand, who below the great monarch realm could resist her? However, the triple barrier that she was so proud of was broken by 2 slashes, and her soul was bitten away by unknown things. As a result, the strongest protective spiritual treasure she had left was a battle suit at the level of a chaotic spiritual treasure, and some connate spiritual treasures that might not be able to withstand such an attack. This was her last defense. No one in the sky-opening realm should be able to break the battle suit of the chaotic spiritual treasure level. She should still have a chance to survive. As long as the goddess bought some time for her or Jian Wudao to arrive, she would still have a chance of survival. But the moment she summoned the chaotic spiritual treasure, the battle suit suddenly disappeared before it was fully attached to her. How is that possible? Who can instantly snatch my spiritual treasure? The last thing Yi Qingchan saw was a familiar man, but she heard a voice. You can block my girl's assassination. I wonder if you can block mine. He's not dead? He's not Wang Han. He's the human emperor, Han Fei. Yi Qingchan understood, but she had no time to disclose the news. She gritted her teeth, and her soul instantly left her body, and her flesh and blood turned into a sword. She was the strongest at the carefree level. Even without all the protection, how could her combat power be weak? Even if she couldn't beat Han Fei, she could at least block his attack. But the moment her soul left her body, the void fluctuated, and a black shadow suddenly appeared in the void world. In an instant, thousands of attacks slashed Yi Qingchan's soul into pieces. The silver threads actually had the effect of restraining souls. Yi Qingchan's soul body seemed to be tied up like a puppet on strings. Xia Shechan's voice rang in her ears. This is the 4th time I assassinated you. Puff. At that moment, the blade's radiance spanned half the sky. The sword, transformed by Yi Qingchan, was shrouded by the blade's radiance, and half of Yi Qingchan's body was cut off. Xia Shaochan completed the last step of the assassination of Yi Qingchan's soul body. Han Fei didn't know if Yi Qingchan still had time to think before she died. But he didn't care. As an enemy, no matter how amazing she was, no matter how many tricks she had, no matter how many stories she had, she was still an enemy. And Han Fei's attitude towards enemies had always been one word: kill. No. As soon as Jian Wudao rushed out of the sword abyss, he saw that Yi Qingchan was still covered by this terrifying slash, even though she sacrificed her life to transform into a sword. As a true expert, he knew how powerful this slash was. In terms of offensive power, it was comparable to his previous slash. The others didn't come back to themselves until this moment. When they looked at Yi Qingchan, she had been submerged in the blood-red saber beam. Well, the sudden assassination caught the onlookers off guard. The guardians of Yi Qingchan above the sword abyss, and the disciples of the primordial divine academy were all dumbfounded. Everything had happened too quickly. The Holy Lady is dead? Someone murmured, is that a supreme-level assassin from the Southern Dipper? Jian Wudao immediately rushed in Yi Qingchan's direction, but when he arrived, he only saw broken bones. After all, Yi Qingchan was a carefree-level expert. It was easy for Han Fei to kill her soul, but not her heavenly Dao Jade Marrow bone. However, the moment Jian Wudao touched the remains of Yi Qingchan, a terrifying explosion suddenly swept out again. The power produced by the self-detonation of the infinity water was quite considerable. At least, people in the sky-opening realm couldn't easily withstand it. Jian Wudao was no exception, and even Han Fei was no exception. Therefore, if Yi Qingchuan really put on the battlesuit of the chaotic spiritual treasure. Level, Han Fei didn't think he could still kill her. Unfortunately, there were no ifs. Yi Qingchuan's corpse was detonated a second time, and Jian Wuji was blown hundreds of thousands of kilometers away, crashing into a cliff and leaving a big hole. Crack crack bam. Han Fei looked back at the mystic martial monarch armor, which was full of cracks at this moment. In the end, it couldn't withstand so many powerful impacts and shattered. Han Fei was stunned and was thinking about how to deal with it. Fortunately, the heavenly Tao chains finally took action, trapping the goddess phantom and causing it to burst under their pressure. Holy Lady. At this moment, a group of Yi Qingchuan's guardians finally arrived. Among these people, there were people from the Miracle Forest and the Primordial Divine Academy. Someone shouted, "Thief, you killed our Holy Lady. Today, we must kill you no matter what." A powerhouse from the Primordial Divine Academy formed an array. "How dare you kill a top genius of our Primordial Divine Academy? No matter who you are, you and the force behind you are doomed." In the middle of the battlefield, Han Fei held the blood sky blade in his hand and muttered, "Should I abandon this persona? What a dilemma." Opposite Han Fei, Jian Wudao shattered a precipice, his hair disheveled, and his sword intent soared to the sky. "You, go to hell." Han Fei chuckled. "I heard that you were first place on the god roll in the past. I saw you attack just now. Not bad. However, I don't think you've ever asked about my saber if it allows you to be first place." With all the enemies on their sides, Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan, one in the light and one in the dark, faced the enemies together again. However, the only enemy in Han Fei's eyes was Jian Wudao. He had to admit that the expert who could be ranked first on the god roll was indeed extraordinary. He was on a completely different level from Zhao Longyu, Yu Donglu, and the others he had met. Han Fei had fought Yi Tianren before. Although Yi Tianren was a little arrogant, in terms of attainments in the sword Dao, he was actually very strong. With Li Tiangan's guidance, he could barely compare to Yi Tianren in the sword Dao. If it weren't for the fact that he had comprehended the sword for carefree roaming, he wouldn't have been able to defeat Yi Tianren. Of course, it was just the sword Dao. This had never been his main Dao. However, Yi Tianren's 3 strikes today had clearly raised his comprehension of the sword Dao to a whole new level. Even so, he couldn't resist the 3 slashes of Jian Wudao. The latter only became serious during the 3rd strike. At this moment, although Jian Wudao was furious and gave up fighting Yi Tianren, the billowing smoke and the infinite sword waves in the sword abyss hadn't completely dissipated. Clank, clank, clank. Bang. 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 Yi Tianren was resisting with all his strength, and there was also a surging sword stream behind him. However, compared to Jian Wudao's sword, Yi Tianren was just struggling. After 100 seconds, the sword aura in the sword abyss subsided, and Yi Tianren half knelt on the ground, already covered in blood. Yi Tianren raised his head and looked straight at Jian Wudao and Han Fei, whose auras were constantly increasing above the sword abyss with a complicated expression. The remaining power of Jian Wudao's 3rd strike was at most 50%. If Jian Wudao hadn't left halfway, he would have been seriously injured even if he hadn't died. Jian Wudao looked at the sword abyss and said in a low and hoarse voice, "If you hadn't insisted on a sword competition, these 2 assassins wouldn't have had a chance. So, you are also one of the murderers." You should be executed. 2. Jian Wudao raised his hand and pressed down, and 12 small swords lined up. In his palm. He has 12 intrinsic sword seeds? Among the onlookers, many sword cultivators were shocked. How is it possible? A sword cultivator only bears 1 intrinsic sword seed in his life. How can he have so many? Who can resist him? Is he the former number 1 on the god roll? Han Fei also frowned slightly. Jian Wudao seemed a little special. Indeed. Someone who could suppress so many powerhouses on the god roll must be extraordinary. When he looked at Yi Tianren again, the latter's expression changed drastically. He seemed to have guessed something. The inheritance of the 12 sword demon servants? No. You are the reincarnation of the sword demon. Sword demon? Yi Tianren looked as if he were facing a great enemy. Han Fei didn't know what was going on. Most of the other sword cultivators didn't seem to know who the sword demon was. Only a few people looked shocked. Sword demon? He's a sword god and has 12 sword servants, all of whom are peak-level great monarchs. It's said that he died in an ominous battle. If Jian Wudao is the reincarnation of the sword demon, he can't be the reincarnation of the sword demon. Otherwise, how could Yi Tianren be qualified to fight against him? It should be that Jian Wudao obtained the inheritance of the sword demon by chance. This is great news. For a moment, many people quickly retreated. Han Fei had seen many such situations. Most of the people who retreated would retreat first and send a message to their forces as soon as they left the God-ferrying ancient land. Then, Jian Wudao would probably become the target of the major forces in the Central Sea Divine Realm. This was what the world was like. People with extraordinary strength, but without backgrounds would always be coveted. However, Jian Wudao clearly didn't care about this at the moment. These 12 small swords were all released, each revealing its unique aura, and all flying towards Yi Tianren. Yi Tianren wasn't stupid. He exploded half of his flesh and blood, condensed into a blood sword, and fled quickly. Although the strong were belligerent, they cherished their lives. Only with their lives could they continue to become stronger. Yi Tianren was even more so. In the battle with Han Fei, he had sacrificed 2 guardians, but now he didn't have any guardians by his side. Humph. You think you can escape with the mere blood sword? Clank, clank, clank. The 12 small swords fused into one in the blink of an eye, unleashing supreme power, and in an instant, their speed exceeded 100 times the speed of light. Yi Tianren knew that he was no match for it, so a bronze tripod appeared on the surface of his body and tried to resist the attack. Ka ka ka. Unfortunately, the 12 small swords level was obviously higher than the bronze tripod and pierced it through with one blow. The bronze tripod exploded, and Yi Tianren was left with nothing but a skeleton, still trying to escape. But a golden ribbon fish tried to block the small swords for him, showing its monarch realm combat power. However, the heavenly Dao chains here had just crushed the goddess phantom, let alone a companion spirit in the monarch realm. Clank, clank, clank. Yi Tianren's companion spirit was seized. Just when everyone thought that he was dead for sure, the shattered sword that had chosen its master a moment earlier suddenly dispersed into pieces and blocked the 12 swords. Because of this block, Yi Tianren activated the blood sword technique again and disappeared into the sky in the blink of an eye. Seeing this, many people were horrified. They all thought that Yi Tianren was dead for sure, but they didn't expect there to be a chance. A nature spiritual treasure was indeed a nature spiritual treasure. At critical moments, this equaled a life. Jian Wudao frowned, but Han Fei chuckled. You think too highly of yourself. He and you are both strong masters on the god roll. I don't think you can kill him with one attack. After this, I'm afraid you won't have a chance to kill him again. Jian Wudao's sword qi was still soaring. Yi Tianren's escape made him furious. Han Fei continued, you don't seem to care much about Yi Qingchan's death. Since her death, you have been exceptionally angry, but you haven't gone crazy. You didn't even treat her corpse well. Hee, the two of you just want to use each other. She wants to use you, and you want to use her too. She wants to get your divine path, and you want to become a god with her help. What a beautiful couple. Shut up. Shut up, be ****. Don't slander our holy lady. Jian Wudao glared fiercely, seemingly on the verge of exploding in anger. The experts of the miracle forest all scolded Han Fei angrily, but they had no intention of attacking, as if they were waiting for Jian Wudao to attack. However, at this moment, a green light soared into the sky from the sword. Abyss. Han Fei peeped at the object and opened his mouth in surprise. Bronze fragment? Swish. Jian Wudao brandished his sword, but he didn't use the 12 intrinsic sword seeds. Instead, he condensed the primordial fiendishness into a sword. The sword whistled like an ancient charm, mixed with boundless fiendish intent, and stabbed out with a sharp sword beam. Han Fei sneered. Do you think I'm Yi Tianren? The blood sky blade voluntarily stabbed out in front of Han Fei. When the swords and knives collided, ripples spread out, and the surrounding bystanders were so shocked that no one dared to approach. Han Fei moved forward step by step. With every step he took, the sword qi shattered a little bit. After 7 steps, the sword was completely shattered. However, when Han Fei shattered the sword, Jian Wudao had already caught up to the bronze fragment. Just as he touched the fragment, the void world opened, and a strange spike appeared. Clang! The sword aura around Jian Wudao was all shattered, and the dagger cut him twice in a row, leaving a bloody mist. Jian Wudao slashed back like a piece of heaven and earth pressing down, and Xia Xiaochan was forced to retreat tens of thousands of kilometers before she stopped. Don't chase him. Han Fei spoke telepathically, and Xia Xiaochan entered the void world again. Jian Wudao grabbed the bronze fragment and didn't seem to care about being cut twice. He looked back at Han Fei. I'll settle the score with you another day. Han Fei grinned and said, don't worry. We'll meet soon. When the 9 fragments all appeared, the 9 fragments would inevitably be integrated. It didn't matter if he chased them or not. They were just a key. Han Fei looked around at the disciples of the Miracle Forest and the Primordial Divine Academy. There weren't as many as 3,000, only 7 or 800. After all, not everyone was revolving around Yi Qingchan. Besides, Yi Qingchan thought that Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan had both died, so she slacked off. Han Fei reached out and grabbed in the air, and the divine tribulation that Yi Qingchan was about to release appeared in his hand. The strong masters of the Miracle Forest and the Primordial Divine Academy retreated when they saw this. If it was just Han Fei, they might really try to stop him. But now that the divine tribulation was in Han Fei's hands, who dared to attack him? Han Fei couldn't help but sigh. It's true that when a person dies, it's like A lamp going out. A moment ago, you were all swearing to avenge her, but now you've all become mute. Now that your master is dead, should I send you to accompany her? Wang Han, you have no idea what you are doing. Not only are you causing trouble for yourself, but you are also causing trouble for the Phoenix Divine race. The one who spoke was an expert from the primordial god world. As soon as this person finished speaking, Han Fei arrived in an instant. The blood sky blade seemed to be able to predict and slashed in the direction of the person's escape. Puff. Half of the man's body was shattered by the saber when he tried to escape. With his soul, a strange short dagger attacked him from the void world and pierced him again. A top powerhouse was instantly killed just because of a harsh word he said. Han Fei grinned grimly. After we go out, you can play however you want. But now, get lost. Otherwise, I'll kill you on sight. You have 3 seconds to consider. 1, 2. The strong masters of the Miracle Forest and the Primordial Divine Academy all retreated, or to put it more accurately, they ran away. As for the other itinerant cultivators, they quickly retreated too, fearing that Han Fei would attack them. He even dared to kill the Holy Lady of the Miracle Forest. What else could he not do? As for Jian Wudao, no one would touch the snail. That was a sword Dao expert who had almost killed Ji Tianren with a single strike. Even if they could keep up with his speed, could they withstand a single strike from him? Let alone snatch the bronze fragment. Buzz. Xia Xiaochan appeared. We just let him leave like that? That bronze fragment is extraordinary. Han Fei said, it's okay. It's just a key. A key can only be used to open the door. Besides, we have one too. With that, Han Fei took out the vast ocean navigator. As the vast ocean navigator spun, Han Fei reached into the void and took out a bronze fragment. Xia Xiaochan asked, is this from Yi Qingchan? Han Fei said, of course. The Miracle Forest controls a bronze fragment. Among the strong masters in the Miracle Forest who invaded the God-ferrying ancient land this time, only Yi Qingchan is qualified to hold the bronze fragment, so this fragment can only be on her. Half a day later. The northern part of the map of the God-ferrying ancient land. A big calabash flew across the sky at a very slow speed. The people on the calabash were still eating hot pot. Feng Xingliu said, aren't you and Han Fei good brothers? Why aren't you worried about his safety at all? This guy hasn't appeared for more than 3 months. He seems to have disappeared from the face of the earth. Will anything happen to him? Feng Qingqing scoffed. Shut up. Brother Han Fei must have been delayed by something. Zhang Xuanyu smiled and said, don't worry. If it were anyone else, I would believe that something would happen. But if it were him, I seriously suspect that he went to dig up some treasure. Perhaps he will bring back a supreme nature treasure. Lu Renquang said, Yu. That's an exaggeration. A supreme nature treasure? It's a question whether or not there is such a treasure in the God-ferrying ancient land. Feng Yu said leisurely, what's the rush? Anyway, without our 2 bronze fragments, even if they got all the remaining 7 fragments, they won't be able to open that place. Hey, Xiaojiu, don't just stand there all the time holding a flute like a fairy. It'll make me feel very pressured. Jiu Yinling blushed. He's here. Feng Yu asked, how do you know? Jiu Ling said, the voice between the heavens and earth told me that. Feng Yu said, fine, you're also abnormal. Feng Qingqing secretly tugged at Feng Yu's arm and looked at Jiu Ling as if saying, sis, this is your love rival. Swish, swish. Suddenly, two figures jumped out of the void world. The people who were already prepared looked over and saw Han Fei appear in front of them with a beautiful girl with a smile. Feng Xingliu, well, Han Fei, why did you bring back another woman? Han Fei glared at Feng Xingliu and thought to himself, can't you talk properly? Why is it so difficult for you to keep your mouth shut? Xia Xiaochan glanced at Feng Fei, Feng Qingqing, and finally Jiu Ling. The latter was also looking at her at this moment, but her eyes were very calm. Han Fei felt an inexplicable pain in the soft flesh of the small of his back. Thinking to himself, women's sixth sense is amazing. Feng Yu is beautiful too, but why did you ignore her, but stare at Jiu Ling? But Han Fei seemed to have forgotten that when his soul fused with Xia Xiaochan's soul, Xia Xiaochan already knew a lot of things. She just didn't point it out. Feng Yu was a little puzzled. She could understand if Han Fei brought Yi Qingchan back, but who was this woman? In the end, it was Lu Renquang who broke the silence. Xia Xiaochan? Haha, Xia Xiaochan, is that you? Zhang Xuanyu also rose quickly. Yes, they're 50 to 60% similar, and their aura is 90% similar. Xiaochan, do you still recognize me? Feng Xingliu was dumbfounded. Who is Xia Xiaochan? Why do I feel that I don't fit in with your circle? Feng Qingqing immediately stuffed a piece of meat into Feng Xingliu's hand. Shut up. Xia Xiaochan and Jiu Ling looked away from each other and said with a smile, Zhang Xuanyu, I heard that you've already had a child. Would you consider me as your daughter's godmother? Zhang Xuanyu opened his mouth and said, ha ha. Sure. Just prepare the betrothal gifts in advance. When your son is born, where can he run? Bah, what if I have a daughter? Bah. Why won't you have another baby? Xiaochan flashed to Lu Renquang and patted his belly. Quang, why are you getting fatter and fatter? I just got a new dagger. Lu Renquang quickly waved his hand. Don't. I'm warning you not to stab Fei. His skin is thick and indestructible. It won't hurt for him. Xia Xiaochan said, haha, don't be scared. Xia Xiaochan was very happy to see her old friends, but she couldn't ignore the others. So she said, nice to meet you. I'm Xia Xiaochan, Han Fei's first wife. Puff. Cough. Feng Xingliu sprayed the food in his mouth out and looked at Xia Xiaochan in shock, then at Han Fei, and then at Feng Yu and Jiu Ling. It's complicated. It's simply too complicated. Well, I'd better just eat. Han Fei's face also darkened. What did Xia Xiaochan mean by the first wife? She made it sound like he had many wives. However, the woman present had different reactions. Feng Yu didn't care, Feng Qingqing was curious, and Jiu Ling's eyes lit up. Xia Xiaochan was not as naive and ignorant as when she was young. On the contrary, she was very smart now. With just a simple sentence, she eased the awkward atmosphere to some extent. In addition, she also gave Jiu Ling some room for deep thought. Only Feng Xingliu said stupidly, no, Han Fei, that's a bit unfair to Feng Yu. You're making it difficult for me. Feng Yu's eyes were murderous as she looked at Feng Xingliu with a strange smile. Shut up. Han Fei and I have been acting since the beginning. Otherwise, I would have been forced into marriage at this gathering of heavenly talents. Since his real wife is here, I have to make it clear. Miss Xiaochan, I just borrowed your husband for a while. Do you mind? Xia Xiaochan said with a smile, I don't mind. Sister Fingyu, feel free to use him. Han Fei. Sensing the awkwardness between Xia Xiaochan and Jiuyin Ling, Feng Yu asked. Han Fei, I don't know what happened, but, where is Yi Qingchan? Han Fei picked a piece of meat and stuffed it into his mouth. I killed her. With that, Han Fei took out a bronze fragment, which was exactly the one that Yi Qingchan had mastered. Puff. This time, not only Feng Xingliu, but everyone, including Feng Fei, looked at Han Fei in shock. Zhang Xuanyu asked, Fei Fei, are you serious? Lu Renquang rubbed his head. Did a third person see it? Han Fei said, more than 1,000 people saw it. Lu Renquang. Feng Xingliu said in shock, are you kidding me? You killed the holy lady of the miracle forest and the protagonist of the joust? You. It's over. You'd better run after you leave the God-ferrying ancient land. Many people in the South Sea Divine Realm now are here for the joust. Han Fei looked at Feng Yu. Will it be a problem? Feng Yu rubbed the space between her eyebrows. Let me think about it. It's not a big problem for our Phoenix divine race. However, I'm afraid you can't stay in the South Sea Divine Realm anymore. Besides, I have to run too. However, Xia Xiaochan said, the joust will still be held. I will temporarily serve as the holy lady of the miracle forest. Huh? Zhang Xuanyu asked, why am I confused? Can you explain it to me? After Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan told the whole story in a half-hidden way, Han Fei said, therefore, all the plans are here. The miracle forest has existed for too long. It's time for it to have some changes. The top priority now is not the joust, but, what can the bronze fragment open? The northern part of the God-ferrying ancient land, the northern plains. This was one of the most dangerous areas of the God-ferrying ancient land. Half of the ferocious beasts living here had taken the extreme Tao, and all of them were ridiculously strong. After Han Fei and the others killed dozens of ferocious beasts in a row, they had a chance to enter the northern plains. Everyone followed the map all the way north, until Han Fei and the others saw the strong masters of the primordial divine academy, the ancient demon race. The flying immortal tower, the divine demon forest, the royal family of the divine capital, the sword cultivator, Jian Wudao, and an incomplete bronze disc floating in the sky. When Jian Wudao saw Han Fei, his eyes were cold as if he wanted to kill him. Han Fei smiled casually. As I said, we met again soon. When Jian Wudao saw Han Fei, his killing intent was obvious. If it weren't for the fact that there were many forces around, he might have attacked Han Fei without hesitation. However, since the bronze door was about to open, he didn't do that, but his words were full of killing intent. I will kill you with my own hands. Han Fei smiled and said, okay. Now I have a lot of people, so I won't bully you. When there is a chance, if you don't come to me, I will go to you. Han Fei didn't take action now simply because he didn't want to expose too much. Now he was Wang Han, so his means weren't enough to deal with Jian Wudao. If he really took action now, it would only expose his true identity. In addition to Jian Wudao, Han Fei's gaze swept across. On the side of the Primordial Divine Academy, Zhao Longshu and other strong masters were looking at Han Fei with unfriendly eyes. Hundreds of ancient demons had come from the ancient demon race, and their leader was a long-haired unmasked saber cultivator. The people from the Flying Immortal Tower were easy to recognize. They all were full of immortal energy, their clothes fluttered, and they looked ethereal. To Han Fei's surprise, the leader of the divine demon forest wasn't Chen Fangchao, but a girl who was curiously looking at Han Fei and the others. As for the royal family of the divine capital, there was a yellow-robed young man sitting in a carriage, beside which Yu Donglu was standing. Han Fei didn't expect this expert on the god role to be from the royal family of the divine capital. The arrival of Han Fei and the others seemed a bit strange. The Phoenix divine race, from the South Sea divine realm, the god-slaying bandits from the West Wilderness, the leader of the Wildfire Mad Blade gang, an assassin from the Southern Dipper, a heavenly talent from the Sound Ending Mountain, and a core disciple of the Ghost Strait. They looked like a ragtag army, but none of them were simple. Of course, apart from Feng Xingliu and Feng Qingqing, who were just bystanders. A strong master from the Primordial Divine Academy said, the Phoenix Divine race actually allied with the Southern Dipper assassins and the bandits of the West Wilderness. How bold! Feng Yu replied lazily, just because of what you said, you'd better not let me meet you. Otherwise, you won't be able to go back. Humph. Zhao Longma snorted coldly. Feng Yu, are you threatening our Primordial Divine Academy? Do you know what you are doing now? Feng Yu said, Zhao Longma, think before you speak. Do you know whose territory the South Sea Divine Realm is? Hee hee. Lu Renquang said, there are many people from the Primordial Divine Academy who cultivate in the West Wilderness every year, right? From what you say, you seem to disdain our god-slaying bandits? Han Fei added, it seems that we gave the Primordial Divine Academy too much face in the past, so much so that they forgot whose territory the West Wilderness is. As Lu Renquang and Han Fei echoed each other, Zhao Longma could only shut up. If a war was started between the Primordial Divine Academy and the bandits of the West Wilderness because of him, the consequences would be disastrous. With the temperament of these bandits, it was very likely that no one from the Primordial Divine Academy would be able to go to the West Wilderness to gain experience again. Everyone, listen to me. The yellow-robed young man from the Divine Capital Dynasty said with a smile. We met because of fate. Why do we have to be so serious? The bronze fragments only gather once every tens of thousands of years. Do you want to fight to the death here? If there's anything, we can discuss it after we leave the god ferrying ancient land. The leader of the Flying Immortal Tower also said, everyone, let's make peace. The god-ferrying ancient land has been open for more than 5 months. No one knows when it will be closed. Let's not miss the opportunity for nothing. Feng Yu smiled sweetly. That makes sense. Then she waved her hand, and 2 pieces of bronze flew out. In the sky, the round bronze divine plate only had 1 corner missing. As Han Fei raised his hand, another bronze fragment flew out. The divine plate was complete and slowly revolved. Dense rays of light spread out of the divine plate and covered the surrounding void in the blink of an eye. Everyone felt an ancient rotten smell coming at their faces. Around them, the scene changed, the sky became dark, the ground turned into black soil, dim light flowed between the heavens and earth, an ancient mystic sounds resounded between the heavens and earth, as if someone was chanting. On the ground, a huge stele rose from the ground. On it, the words, graveyard, of the gods were engraved. Beside them, small blood-colored words appeared. The gods may be silent, but their divinity endures. Buried in the sacred tomb, awaiting those who come. There are rules to obtain inheritances, so do not disturb if not fated. Nature and the universe, who can share with us?